Gathering of Fools is back, and today we have Frankie Mastroianni. Frankie actually used to work for me. I've known him for a long time. That job where he worked for me was his first ever job. He used to be a shy 15-year-old kid, and man, has he come a long way from that. He is now a nutrition coach. He also competes in CrossFit, and he's not shy about talking. I was pleasantly surprised by this episode. Not that I thought it would be a bad conversation, but I just wasn't sure how the flow would be. It's been a long time since me and him really talked to each other. It went great. Very happy with the episode. I would like him to come back as often as he wants. We talked about nutrition. We talked about CrossFit, exercise, sleep. We also just bullshitted, had some fun. And, of course, got his top 5 movies, but he did a mixture of movies and shows. But I really enjoyed this episode. I think everybody else will too. So here's Frankie. All right, on today's episode, we got Frankie Mastroianni, right?
Yes, sir.
Right.
We're good.
We literally just went over how to pronounce his last name because even though I've known him for years, I always just called him Frankie.
Yeah. You were my first boss, too, and my first job ever.
Yeah, at the country club. Yeah, you were kind of a busboy slash party server.
Yes. First job ever. I had no idea what I was getting into, 15 years old, just a shy kid.
Mm-hmm. To me, that's the funniest part is this kind of fitness influencer you've become, because when I knew you back then, you were just this shy kid that didn't talk too much, just kind of came in, did his job, got out of there.
Yeah, over time, it just, I don't know, exposed to different things and just kind of decided to branch out to do something different, I got into it. Well, that was mid-teens, so a lot of development in the later years,
right.
Going to school, meeting more people and stuff like that, having way more jobs after that. Way more jobs.
Probably ones that were more of a pain in the ass, too.
Yeah, man, for sure. A lot of bad jobs I didn't like, but it's necessary. I feel like everybody has job stories that they don't like,
Oh, yeah, for sure, without a doubt. I do, at the beginning, I like to get people who have their own business or stuff like that. I like to go ahead and get that out at the beginning. So go ahead and shout out your website, Instagrams, all that stuff.
For sure. My personal Instagram, I do a lot of stuff there. It's coach.frankiemaz. My business Instagram is ActiveWorks Nutrition, just at ActiveWorks Nutrition. And then the website is activeworksnutrition.com. And you can find all the info there and reach out if you have questions. And
then what you do there is you give nutrition plans. I know that. Do you also do workout plans and things like that, or pretty much just the nutrition?
Prioritize nutrition. I help people a lot with that. I mean, mostly with that. But there's some cases where some people might be traveling or they need help with knowing what movements to do. And since I've been in training since 2000, I've been doing fitness and training since I was in high school, but I will give them some training advice.
Yeah, hold on. I'm going to pause this.
Okay.
Shit. All right, so I paused the podcast because me and Frankie both heard a loud-ass knock.
Yeah.
And it sounded like they might have knocked over my clubs or whatever. Turns out there's a sheriff standing on my porch. And I'm like, oh, shit, what have I done?
Yeah.
And it turns out it's a subpoena because my old assistant manager first he said subpoena, and I was like, oh my God, what's going on?
Not good.
Honestly, I thought when he had the paper, it was like an arrest warrant.
Yeah.
I really did. I'm like, what did I do?
That would have been some shit. I'd have just been sitting here. I'd been what am I supposed to do?
You probably wouldn't even have known. They would have just taken me, and you would have been like, is he coming back?
Yeah, just sitting in the podcast room. Oh my God.
So it turns out it's a subpoena. Then I'm like, okay, what's this subpoena for? And my old manager, my assistant manager at Vicelli Pizza, he was accused of stealing, I guess we should say, because he hasn't been found guilty yet. I mean, he did it.
Yeah.
But he was accused of stealing, and it's a subpoena to go testify in court. But I'm not gonna lie to you, I shit my pants a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, dude. So many thoughts,
man,
just at once.
What if they just would have taken me and you literally would have just been sitting in here by yourself, like, man, I wonder what the fuck is going on.
Yeah, because my phone, I'm just like waiting, like a good guy, just sitting here.
Yeah.
I'm like looking around the room.
Yeah, you're like, man, Dave is kind of a dick.
Yeah,
He's just leaving me sitting here for this long.
I wouldn't have known for a while. Like, I would have just patient.
Yeah, the only thing I could have done is like if he would have arrested me right there, is like screamed, Frankie, I'm being arrested, get out of there.
Yeah. Oh my god. That's hilarious. That was so random, though, man.
So random in the middle of a podcast.
Yeah,
I didn't even know like sheriffs came to your door and gave you subpoenas like that.
Dude, I didn't know what the hell was going on.
And I have to go February 14th. Man, talk about short notice. February 14th. Oh no, that's when it was listed. So when is it? When do I have to go? This is some
it's the
bullshit.
18th right now.
Oh yeah, 4th of March. Okay.
It's coming up
at 9:00 a.m. Gonna have to have
sleeping in.
No, gonna have to have a finger or two of bourbon before that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just kidding. Oh, that's fucking crazy though.
They take Vicelli seriously, man.
Yeah, well, he stole a lot of money.
That's not good.
No,
you shouldn't be doing that, man.
No,
you shouldn't be doing that.
The most like hilarious part to me is it was the highest paying job he had ever had.
But like, why would you steal from Vicelli's Pizza? Like,
right. Well, and it's the highest paying job you ever had, so you thought like, hey man, this is the most anybody's ever paid me. I should also steal on top of that.
No, man. Jeez.
Yeah. Oh, what a nightmare.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we were talking about what, nutrition?
Yeah, we were talking about. I just gave up my my website name and my Instagram handles and stuff like that. And you asked if I did training, so I do some people's training. Like I give them workouts to do on the go. Just try to accommodate anything and give the best service that I can to them. Just depends on the individual.
Yeah, and actually, I do think that is actually really key because a lot of people obviously travel for work. They're staying in hotels, and hotels don't always have the best gyms. It seems like lately, for some reason, a lot of them have a nice set of dumbbells.
A lot of people do, yeah, or a lot of places do.
Yeah, which you can do a lot with dumbbells.
Dude, you can do anything with dumbbells.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I created like a PDF sheet of like bodyweight workouts that require no space, no time, like 10 minutes or less, just to get people moving, because I feel like movement is an important piece of anybody's like nutrition related goals or just life in general, like just moving your body, being able to move and stretch and like sweat.
I think movement is so key. I actually, from On It, I got this workout program that's all just your natural body, stretching, movement, stuff like that. But I haven't been able to do it enough, and the first time I ever did it, I was in Amanda Gill's class, but yoga. I don't know how you feel about yoga. I love it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. I do more of so I have a subscription to an online service, and it's like anywhere from 15 to 40 minutes, and it's not like a flow yoga where you go in and out of poses constantly. Yeah. But it's you like have a pose and just sit in that pose for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, for like a time duration that they have set for you.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's called Ramwad, and I like it. It's just a different method. What I want to try is hot yoga.
I really want to try hot yoga too.
Lock you in that room.
But what's crazy, I don't know, like the class I did with Amanda, I sweat like fucking crazy anyway. And now I'm like, hot yoga? I might die in that motherfucker.
Yeah, they like lock you in apparently.
Yeah, you're not allowed to get up and leave.
No, you have to just deal with it. And
do you want to be the guy that just like stops doing the stuff? Like, no, dude, I'm done. I'm just laying here.
I wonder if you could though, or like, can you just like? I wonder if you could just sit there and just be like, man, I need a second to like bring my mind to a stable place so I don't freak out. Because I would be freaking out probably the first time.
Well, yeah, when it gets too hot, it's miserable. Yeah. And like, you know, we both listen to Joe Rogan. For sure. He does a lot of hot yoga.
Well, and he does 90-minute sessions. Dude.
Yeah, dude, he's a different breed of human, ain't he?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if I think he might have like graduated to 90 minutes because there's no way. There's no way.
I think when he got to the 90 minutes was probably during the second Sober October, where they had to do so many hot yoga classes during the time frame. Yeah. And so I think that's probably when he did it.
Yeah, I'd probably like have not a good time if I were to try to just jump in. Maybe like an hour. But I don't know. like a normal yoga session without heat gets you going.
Right.
And I love it. It's very.
And I just think about the amount of water I would need for hot yoga, because even Joe says he takes a shit ton of water.
Yeah. Yeah, probably.
Like I said, when I get done with regular yoga, there is a puddle of sweat beneath me. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a challenge. I mean, you're taking your body to places that like it's like slowly opening up, and your mind, because like if you're tight, it's difficult because it hurts. Like it's uncomfortable. So like mentally, you have to kind of deal with it and relax. So I don't know. It'd be a challenge.
Yeah,
good for development.
Yeah, and the relaxing thing, I like what you said, because dealing with those high stress environments, I think, relaxes your mind when you're done.
Yeah,
like Aubrey Marcus, who started On It with Joe Rogan. He's got a book says it's Own the Day, Own Your Life. So it's about having a daily ritual. And one of the first things is he says, even if you don't do your whole shower like that, when you first get in the shower, just cold water for like the first couple of minutes, just to get that shock into your system.
Have you been exposed to cold
showers? Not cold showers. I'm actually really bad at it. I've tried to do it a couple times. I immediately go to warm.
Yeah, it's tough.
But like cold, like outside, doesn't bother me as much, because I was put through a cold torture. I was in the Air Force, and I had a flying job, so they made me go through a mock POW. Mm-hmm. And one of the tortures they did to me in the POW, it was like winter out. Mm-hmm. They cut a laundry basket and made it like a skirt for me. I had to wear that. And then, no shirt or nothing, just the skirt. And then they put like rain boots on me. Oh, and they took a hose. I had to put my arms up this, like straight, making a straight plane. Uh-huh. And they took water from a cold water tank and they were pouring it on me.
Just nonstop. You just got to deal with it?
Yeah, filled up my boots with it. Yeah, you just got to deal with it, and they're trying to ask you questions. You got to resist.
Yeah, that's terrible, man.
They had doctors there to quickly check you for like hypothermia and shit.
Yeah, it's out in the cold already. I have exposure to cold showers. I liked it a lot. It helped me, like we were talking about Alpha Brain and like different products and stuff to like expand or improve your cognitive function. Yeah. I feel like cold showers do that. Fasting does that for me with coffee. Oh yeah. Yeah, but cold showers suck. Yeah, they suck.
It's miserable.
Yeah, it's miserable.
But that's what he says. He says it does suck. He's not saying it like this is. He says, but going through that struggle to start your day makes the rest of your day seem just easy. Not that bad.
Yeah, yeah. That's part of the reason why I think I like training. Mm-hmm. It's just hard, and so like everything else becomes easier outside of that.
Yeah, I always feel better when I'm doing a steady workout plan. Yeah. Which I'm trying to get back into. I actually had just started getting back into it, and you can see this little scar starting to form. Yeah, I had a massive cut on my hand.
Really?
So any weight or anything I tried to do, it would just reopen it.
Isn't it funny how something so small can prevent you from doing a lot of like bigger activities and things? Like if I have like a cut on my hand or finger or something tweaked in my wrist, like I'm out.
Yeah, there's just nothing you could do.
No.
That's why I always tell people. I tell people now, like I used to like try to get big, so I would try to do like heavier weight.
Yeah.
And now I tell people, like, you probably shouldn't do that. Try to go with weight that you're comfortable with. You know what I mean? That you can do every day, especially as you get older.
Yeah.
That you can do a workout every day instead of like, okay, I need like a day off.
Yeah, definitely.
Or if you hurt yourself, you're out for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's not worth it. It's not worth there's always that risk of like how hard should I push here? Like a big thing I see is people doing it when they're sick, and I'm like, just sleep, dude.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Just go to bed.
Just get it together.
And then it's not like you're gonna lose all of your progress. You're just feeling worse than you actually are. You know what I mean? So.
But there are people that say like you want to go and like sweat out the sickness.
Sometimes I feel that way. Yeah. But like if you have the flu, like I see people in the gym, they post about it. They're like, "Oh, I'm on a bunch of cold medicine." I'm like, "Oh my god, that's fine, whatever."
Yeah. Those cold medicines, a lot of them make you drowsy and stuff. You end up making one mistake or something like that, tear your rotator cuff or something.
Yeah, it's just ego.
Yeah,
it is. It's like just chill. Like seriously, taking a week off like won't really hurt that many people.
Right.
Like it won't crush me. I'll come back probably feeling really good.
Yeah. There's actually a lot of people that say that sometimes after you've been working out hard for a long period of time, like months, that you should take like a week and just let your body recover a little bit and then get back into it. And they said sometimes you'll see you'll see better progress once you take that break and then come back.
Yeah, I definitely do. I think whenever I was prepping for the Open in 2017 for CrossFit, I was taking a deload. It was like every 2 to 3 weeks, and I was just
you were taking a deload.
Deload. So like that. So like 2 weeks of hard training, 1 week of just like kind of chilling.
Yeah.
Not hard training, and I was just on it.
Yeah.
I was on it all the time, like no tweaks, no aches, no joint pain, anything like that. And so like that's kind of back what I'm on to now. And it worked well, like taking that time off, not going balls to the wall. So I feel like it's important.
Yeah. You know? I would have to agree. A lot of my workout information I get, which I'm obviously not taking advantage of right now, but I get from like the different podcasts, especially Joe Rogan, when he has either like Dr. Rhonda Patrick on there or some of the people that genius. Yeah. Some of the people that do CrossFit that he's had on there, different or ultra marathon running, stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't know about. See, I'm like I'm ultra marathons and triathletes are like just a different breed. So like I can't relate.
Yeah,
at all. That
ultra marathon just seems crazy to me.
Yeah, you have to be like seriously messed up in the head to do that type of stuff. You're a different person.
Like I don't know. Do you know who Cameron Haynes is?
Yeah.
So like that dude runs like a marathon every day.
Yeah. Like, yeah. See, like come on, dude. Like, who enjoys that?
Yeah. Nobody. There's no way you enjoy that.
No.
But that through him and Dr. Rhonda Patrick is how I found out. Stop taking like ibuprofen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't like to take any of that stuff.
Yeah, well they said because Cam Haynes was having joint aches all the time, like in his knees, and he was taking ibuprofen for it all the time. Yeah. And Dr. Rhonda Patrick told him, you need to stop taking that because it's weird. It's an anti-inflammatory that causes inflammation. Yeah. And so he stopped taking it, and his knee pains went away.
Yeah, man. Just get on some CBD.
Right. Yep. Yeah, all CBD. Natural. Get it.
I'm all about that life. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. You know what? Something I normally start with, but we had a nice flow going. Yeah. But I want to get usually top 5 movies or top 5 shows. You said you want to maybe do a mixture.
Yeah, a little mixture. Mixture.
So I don't care what order you do it in. Just try to save your top one for last.
Okay. So. Oh shit, man. So I recently The Witcher. I watched The Witcher. Witcher is spectacular on Netflix.
So good. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. People said they were confused about the timelines. I really wasn't.
No.
Maybe for the first episode or two, and then I caught on to it real fast.
Yeah, Witcher is really good. I'm a fan of The Witcher.
And I think he's perfect for that role because he was not great as Superman.
Yeah.
But but he's perfect for that role.
Yeah.
And he sought out that role. He apparently was a fan of the games. Who knew he was a gamer?
No.
Like, how did he have time for games?
Play games. Closet gamers, man.
Yeah.
The industry's massive, but we'll get back to the topic. Yeah.
So, all right. Yeah. Your next show or movie?
Definitely. I mean, the Marvel movies have to be up there. Like, I don't really know which one. Probably the last one, the Infinity War?
Endgame.
Endgame, yeah. Endgame.
Yeah, I always let people when they say that, I let you just use that as one.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
It's people who haven't watched that. To me, even if they say they're not into superheroes, to me, you should still watch it. It's the most epic thing that's ever happened in cinema. Yeah. How many movie groups, whatever you want to call them, but they have that many sequels that are all good. All successful.
Yeah, just compiled into one massive event.
One massive storyline.
Spectacular, man.
It's
seriously
unbelievable. Like, everybody should watch them. I don't care. I'm actually kind of going through them again now.
Yeah.
Because I got that Disney Plus.
Yeah, for sure. Man, so number 3 would probably be, I'm thinking about Marvel superheroes now. But number 3, I like the Harry Potter movies. I'm such a nerd. Like, I love what they did with it. I love the Harry Potter books.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of that.
My brother is a massive Harry Potter guy. He read all the books before people really even got hip to it and all the movies. I really enjoyed the movies. I didn't read the books.
Yeah. Very creative.
Yeah. I even like what's going on now with the Fantastic Beasts.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
No, you haven't seen them?
Is it good?
Yeah, they're both excellent.
There's 2 of them?
Yeah, there's 2 of them now.
I'm behind, man. Yeah. So the Harry Potter movies for sure, man.
Yeah, I like that pick. And actually, that's one that hasn't been brought up yet on the podcast.
Really?
So, yeah.
New?
And that's surprising.
Yeah. Yeah. Number 2 would be Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
For sure.
Dude,
Except for season 8.
Right. It sucks. It sucks. It's like I have friends that tell people not to watch it now because season 8 was so bad. And I'm like, that you're fucking people up.
Dude.
You should still watch it.
100%.
Yeah.
I was like one of those guys who was like, I'm not watching Game of Thrones. I'm going to be one of the black sheep that's like, I'm not doing it because everybody's talking about it. I want to be different. And then I watched it. I was like, shit.
Like I fucked up.
Yeah, no, this is so good. It's so good.
But at the same time, because I did the same thing.
Yeah.
I didn't want to watch it. I think about season 3 or season 4, I started and I was like, fuck it, I got nothing to do. It was Sunday. I was hungover from partying over the weekend, and I was sitting on the couch. I ended up watching the whole first season that day.
Me too.
10 hours.
Me too. I was like, I'm chilling today, and I was like, all right. To all my friends, I texted them. I was like, I'm watching Game of Thrones, and then I watched like I think it was like 7 or 8 episodes straight.
Yeah.
Like I didn't eat lunch. I was just watching Game of Thrones. It was amazing.
Like I don't have time to cook. I got to get somebody to deliver some food.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah. And yeah, season 8 was a massive letdown.
I was upset.
Really with just how it ended. Like I didn't even hate like a lot of people hated the Night Walkers got dealt with in one episode. Mm-hmm. I didn't hate that battle scene, even though it was dark. But honestly, if you were fighting in the dark back then, it would have been dark as fuck.
Yeah. It was scary. It was terrifying. Like I try to put myself in their shoes just because like I'm a nerd and I do stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But like I was imagining what would it be like if I was fighting off an army of undead at night. It's like, come on, dude.
In a time where there's not lights, like the only thing you're gonna have is fire.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, fire. That's it. Dude, I'd be terrified.
Yeah. That people are like, oh, I couldn't really see what was going on. I was like, if you were there, you wouldn't be able to see what was going on.
Exactly. Yeah. We saw probably more than they actually did.
Yeah,
you know
if that was a real battle,
sure.
A real battle, yeah, for sure.
Top would probably be I usually say The Dark Knight with Heath Ledger as the Joker.
Yeah,
but Donnie Darko might be my favorite.
Really, Donnie Darko?
Yeah, that one hit me.
I feel like I have to watch that again because I watched it a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I remember not being that big of a fan. But I was pretty young when I watched it, and I was confused.
Yeah.
As to what was going on.
Confused. That's why I like it, I think, because it like has that time travel aspect of it. And so like I've had to watch it so many times, and even my dad, who's like 10,000 times smarter than I am, he's like, it's a loop. Like you have to watch it and like think because it leaves it up to interpretation for the viewer. You know? And it's emotional because then like he makes a decision that changes the whole movie. It's just great. I liked it.
Yeah, sometimes I like when they leave it up for interpretation. But like I don't know if you ever watched The Sopranos.
Yeah,
I hated how that ended.
Yeah,
because they said they leave it up to your interpretation.
Yeah.
I didn't need you to leave that up to my interpretation. I need to know. Like,
I want to know what happened.
Yeah, and literally, I actually. When that was airing, I bought every season as it came out and watched the DVDs after I bought them. And after the last episode of that, I gave away all of the DVDs for free. It's like, nope, done.
Yeah.
But Donnie Darko, that's another one that has not been brought up. I'm also not a massive. He's growing on me lately, but
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
We one time, me and a couple of buddies, we went and saw at the drive-in.
Brokeback Mountain. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but it's actually. But this is the funny part about it. So we watched that Prince of Persia movie.
Yeah,
and then
I remember that.
And then it was followed by Toy Story.
Yeah.
Whichever one it was, I can't remember. But we ended up calling Toy Story Antique Roadshow. and then Prince of Persia was Brokeback Sandbox.
Yeah. I like him. I like him in some movies. I liked him in Southpaw too.
Yeah,
Southpaw's a good movie.
Loved him in Southpaw, man.
Yeah.
A lot of people that are really into boxing say that was bad boxing. I don't care. I'm not a boxer, you know. Yeah. And I really liked him in that movie End of Watch as well. I don't know if you ever saw that.
No,
it's him and I wish I could remember the guy's name. Oh, he's the in Ant-Man, the Latino guy that's like his partner.
Yep.
He's in that. It's him and Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
And it's epically good.
Yeah. I'll have to watch it.
Yeah, really good. All right. Well,
yeah.
So those are your
those are my
those
five.
Are your top five.
Yeah, those are my five. Usually the Dark Knight takes it, but like I've been thinking about it. Donnie Darko for sure.
Dark Knight is my buddy Tommy's best. I'm a massive Heath Ledger fan, so the Dark Knight doesn't make my top five, but that role might make one of my top 5, top 10.
It's just incomparable. Like you try to compare it, and it's like you can't.
Yeah,
he did such a unique job.
Did you see that new Joker movie though?
Yep, incredible.
Yeah, was it great?
Incredible.
Yeah, I need to watch it. I've got friends that are on either it's the worst thing they've ever seen or it's the best thing they've ever seen.
It is. Yeah. I mean, it takes you for a ride. It is not. I don't know, man.
I heard it's cemented. Like, it leaves you feeling dark at the end of it.
Oh, yeah. Like, I walked away from it, and I was like, what? That ain't right. It's not right. It's not right to feel like, because you know who the Joker is. The Joker's like a villain, right?
Right.
So, like, he's like a bad dude, but, like, you leave it, and you're like, I kind of get it. Right? Like, kind of how you felt bad for Thanos, and it's like, dude, no, like, you shouldn't. It's like, no.
Right.
Yeah, internal conflict.
Yeah, so but you still put Heath Ledger above on the Joker?
Yeah, for sure.
I was upset that Heath Ledger didn't. He got Best Supporting Actor, but to me, he was also the lead. You know, it's like him and Batman. Those are the two lead characters of the movie. So I wanted him to get just Best Lead Actor.
Yeah, he definitely deserved it. I don't think, like, if you're in every scene that you're in is that, like, consuming.
Yeah.
That was what did it for me.
Yeah, definitely consumed him completely.
Yeah.
Like, just his mannerisms and everything he did for that was just amazing.
Like the little things, like grabbing the champagne glass and just tossing it.
Yeah.
Like the liquid out. I was like little things like that. Like, you're psycho.
Yeah.
I'm all about it.
And I'll never forget the disappearing pencil.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because you're just like, holy shit. Yeah.
Oh, man, that's great. I did want to get into CrossFit with you, because you obviously are you're very active in CrossFit.
Very.
How many competitions have you actually done?
Oh, well over 20 to 25.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And you started when?
My first like normal like competing or just day at CrossFit?
Actually, let's start with like when you first started CrossFit in general.
So I started CrossFit at 20 years old. That was 6 years ago in 2013.
Okay.
That would be 7 years ago in 2013. I was like 19 going into 20 and just went into a little class at Rocky Road, the old space. They had a little space. And
okay.
Then,
I didn't realize they had a CrossFit class there.
Well, it wasn't really like a CrossFit class. It was like my buddy Rob who introduced it to me. And like he kept bugging me. And I was like, I don't want to do that. It's just one workout a day.
Yeah.
So I did it. Eventually I was like, that was the hardest thing I've ever done at the time.
Yeah.
Like at the time. So I was like, if I could get good at that, I'm all about it. And then I just got hooked.
Yeah.
Completely hooked.
So is that the main thing that hooked you was just how hard it was?
Yeah. Like I questioned everything about like my strength, my capacity, endurance. And at the time, like, and this will lead into like kind of the nutrition stuff of why I started to do what I do is like, I was a pretty heavy kid growing up and I always wanted to like lean out and just like feel good in my body and figure out like what I need to do training wise to get a lean physique. Like a lot of the inspiration that I had were leaner guys. They were strong guys, but they were also athletes. So they had like this, like guys you would see, like Corey Gregory, like, or fighters or just anybody who had a lean physique but was strong and athletic. Like that's kind of like what I had envisioned for myself, but I wasn't like that at the time. So whenever I Googled or YouTubed CrossFit, I was like, dang, like these dudes are moving well. They're doing crazy gymnastic stuff. They're strong. And they look like that. Like, I'm sold.
Yeah.
Sold.
That's something that one of the things that actually makes me nervous about CrossFit is some of the motions. But if you do get those down and do them right, they obviously have huge benefits.
100%.
But I always worry about like, what's it, clean
and snatch,
clean and
jerk and
snatch.
snatches. Yeah.
I always worry about my shoulders and stuff in that scenario.
Which is a good thing. I will say that. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's like, for me, whenever I got into it, something my dad always shared with me whenever it came to sports was like always prioritize fundamentals. I don't know why, but whenever I got into CrossFit, I was like, okay, I need to move well. And I don't know why I had that thought. I just did. It's a good thought. Yeah, it was the right thought to have because, like, knock on wood, like I'm not 6 years in competing heavy. I'm not really going through anything crazy.
Right.
So I started off like trying to do things right. I looked at other athletes that were the best in the sport and tried to mimic them. You know, I would spend time YouTubing technique videos. I would ask questions from my instructor. Like I would baby step everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like a lot of people, I have a lot of friends that initially were against CrossFit because they thought that people were doing too much or they were worried about injuries and things like that. And for a while, people really didn't like for lack of a better term, the cult feeling they had towards it.
Yeah, it's definitely a cult. For sure. Yeah, it's definitely a group of people, like, But it's a good cult to be in. It's a really good cult to be in.
Right.
Supportive, like.
Well, that's how I look at it now, because I thought about the cult thing at first, but then because my sister and Brad are very much into CrossFit, and bunch of my friends now are, and I look at it now like not so much a cult, but as like just a massive support system.
Yeah, it's a very good community to be a part of, especially because. Like it's this subset of our lifestyle, right? This fitness and health aspect to where we're going into the gym, we're trying to become stronger, move better, be happier with ourselves by experiencing challenge. And like that's a deeper philosophical way to look at it. But I think it's true for most people. Like we want to go in and we want to exercise and we want to just like explore our physicality.
Yeah.
Like we're trying to move better. We want to look better. We want to feel better. And it usually does leave you feeling that way. And the group of people, I mean, they always talk about it because of how fun it is. It's so fun. And it's really stimulating and addictive.
I like the competition aspect of it as well.
Yeah.
Even though it seems like those WODs people are doing at home, they obviously don't have as much of the competition drive to it. But I like the competition aspect. Actually, the first class I ever went to was down at CrossFit Effect. You were there. I don't know if you were actually participating, but I talked to you while I was there.
Yeah.
And man, it was no joke. It was hard. Yeah. At the time, I wasn't in the best shape I've ever been in, but I wasn't anywhere near the worst shape I've ever been in. So I was okay.
Yeah.
And I was doing all right through everything until I hit the run. Because I've never done the cardio. I hit the run. They're like having me carry stuff. I'm like, listen, I can barely carry my body right now. All right. So I'm carrying it, and Brad keeps taking it from me. I'm like,
near max heart rate, and they're like, all right, we're gonna run 400 meters. Yeah.
So we do the run, and I do finish the run, and then I come back, and because I told myself the only thing I wanted to do is I wanted to complete the workout. I didn't want to come out there and blow people's socks off. You know what I mean? I had no misconceptions of me going in there and showing the CrossFitters how you get it done. I had no misconceptions. I'll be the last one. I just want to finish it. But I could not finish the sit-ups at the end. That was the only thing I couldn't finish. I had nothing left.
Yeah. Another part of that is like in CrossFit, if you do a class and like everybody sticks around to support the last person working, which is fine because it's not like a measuring contest, right? It's not like, oh, like I'm better than you. It gets competitive. It's fun. Like and competition brings out potential in people. But in everyday classes, it's like, all right, you're struggling. Everybody's going to go through that at some point. And then you have the whole class like cheering you on. Some people hate it. I like it. It's a supportive environment too. It's hard.
It's for sure what happened for me is people were cheering me on because I was the last one, and I thought I would hate it, but I loved it. I really did. It was like the only part that was bad is when I couldn't finish the sit-ups. I felt like I had let people down because they're sitting there cheering me on, and I was like, I don't have anything left. There's nothing.
Yeah, it's like this form of accountability to where you're like, I got to finish the work because they're counting on me, I'm counting on me, and it's just like embracing struggle, really.
Yeah. And I do think more people need to embrace struggle. People walk away from things they shouldn't walk away from, or don't do things that they should do because they're afraid of the struggle. Joe Rogan has this quote. I'm going to misquote it a little bit, but get the general message across, that one of the craziest life lessons he learned is that struggle is one of the best things for life.
I can agree with that. I think that's why I like training, because I feel like I was thinking about it, oddly enough, I was thinking about it this week. Training is like this form of truth to me.
Yeah.
And like, I always wonder why I train so much and why I like it. And it's because it's truthful. It's whenever it's just me in a workout, and I'm training, like you can't bullshit your way out of that.
Right.
No. In life, like we can distort who we are. Like even this podcast before I came here, I was like, I just got to talk and be myself, not like put up a front and just like try to make people see me in a specific way. It's just like, just be you, because it's easy to want to put on a mask and distort who you are, the way that you do things. And training is always that form of raw truth to where, oh, I'm struggling. Oh, I'm not as tough as I think that I am.
It's going to give you maybe the only ultimate truth that there is. Because you're not going to be able, unless you lie about how many reps you did.
Yeah, but then that's just a lie to you,
right?
Like,
because everybody there sees it
for sure. Yeah, and everybody talks about it if you're cheating reps, or that's just silly to me. But the truthful aspect of training is something that I think is like very raw and real, and it's something that will never go away. Because like, let's say you could push a little bit harder, but you decided to slow down.
Right.
Or like you felt a little bit of pain, so you let off the gas pedal and succumbed to that a little bit. Or you felt a little bit of pain and pressed into it. Like that's a life lesson that you learn, that you can go a little bit deeper within yourself to find out what you're made of. And that's like why I like sport, you know. And I got into jiu-jitsu recently, and that's a whole...
I really want to get into jiu-jitsu.
Dude, it's the hardest thing I've ever done. It's way harder than CrossFit. Yeah, for sure. Because it's like life or death. Like if you give up your back or you get put into a choke or submission, like self-defense wise, you can't bullshit your way out of that.
No, there's no way out of it.
No, there's no way.
I always worry about rolling with somebody that doesn't have the practice, hasn't practiced enough. They're not as like a non-black belt, not enough experience.
Yeah,
and then being over aggressive is what I worry about.
Oh, they spaz. Yeah. Even I spazzed whenever I start because I'm still a white belt.
Yeah,
and you will probably get more hurt rolling with beginners than you will with experienced people.
Exactly, because the experienced guy knows how to not hurt you.
Exactly. Like if they put you into an arm bar, they might snap your arm off.
Right. That's what I worry about. Like some guy who like,
gotta be careful.
He freaks out because he's like, oh my God, I got an arm bar.
Yeah, he just yanks it up. Yeah, you don't want that.
And then you walk out of there with one less arm. You're like, oh my God, my arm's gone.
Yeah, you got to be careful. But again, training is that form of truth to me, to where it's like, you know, you get the benefit, you get the community benefit in CrossFit, and just training in general is like it makes life easier.
Yeah,
it makes life way easier.
I like what you said about leaning into the struggle or leaning into the pain or whatever. Mm-hmm. I don't know. You know anything about David Goggins?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
That's his big thing is embrace it. I forget the term he actually uses, but that's his big thing is just embrace the pain.
Yeah.
And I use that in the most simplest of terms this weekend because I worked 2 doubles, and then the third day I still had to open, and
turn and burn
with about 4 hours left. My feet hurt so bad that I was like, I didn't want to walk. I didn't want to do anything. And for some reason, David Goggins just kept popping in my head, and I'm like, dude, all you have to do is walk.
Yeah.
Like that's really who you are, is you can't walk anymore. Yeah. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Don't even talk about your feet hurting. Just fucking walk.
Yeah, it's crazy. It is crazy to think about like where you can go. Like something that did it for me was the champion in CrossFit, Matt Fraser, was talking about his CrossFit Games experience. And so when I'm at home training and I'm like updating my coach with my results and telling him, hey, like I'm a little sore today, I'm a little achy here, I have this little nagging pain that's going on. It's like, well, Matt Fraser was at the games and he tore his LCL in like one of the events and won anyway.
Oh wow, yeah, that's
Day 3,
crazy.
He woke up sick and like overdosed on cold meds and like still won. It's like, all right, okay, like I just need to kind of figure it out.
Yeah.
Instead of just sitting here dwelling on my thoughts.
Right. And it's so like one of the things that all these people point out to me that I listen to on podcasts or read their books or anything is just that your body can always go further than what your brain tells you it can. Mm-hmm. You know, your brain wants you to shut this shit down.
Yeah.
But your body, if you push, will go through it.
Yeah.
And I even notice that every once in a while. I used to randomly get up and run, just get rid of my emotion. Like one time I ran from here to Bob Evans.
Yeah.
I needed a ride back.
Yeah.
It's a long run.
It is.
But I even noticed it in that because like I said, I hardly ever do cardio. Mm-hmm. So the first while of that was a big pain. Mm-hmm. And then after I pushed through that and kept going, eventually it really wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
I could just keep running. But since I don't run that often, by the time I got to Bob Evans, because that's a good few miles.
Dude, that's a hike.
Yeah.
For sure. But you challenge yourself to like do something you weren't ready to do.
Right.
But you did it anyway. You know?
Yeah.
And I feel like the psychological gains are always more important.
Yeah. I am curious where you do jiu-jitsu at.
Weirton. Andrew Purdy.
Andrew Purdy? Is that the one in that complex?
Plaza.
Yeah. So right over there by where I work.
Yeah.
You enjoy it over there?
Love it.
That's where I did my first yoga, which was actually really hard because that floor isn't meant for yoga.
Yeah. It is. It's spectacular. He's very accommodating.
Okay.
Very instructive, very technical. Very respectful place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You guys are doing gis?
Both.
Both?
Gi and no gi, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think I'd prefer no gi.
I like no gi a little bit more.
Yeah.
But it's just because, I mean, whenever I go to gi, I get stomped. So it's probably more ego related.
Well, because the gi is basically a weapon for the other person.
100%. Like, and some guys are better at gi. They know how to manipulate it.
Yeah.
But I have more experience with no gi, with wrestling a little bit, and it's just, I don't know. They're both, it's so different. Yeah. Nonetheless, both humbling, but they're just different universes.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Hold on one second. I got a work text here. Let me see this 1 second. All right. Sorry about that. Work shit. I was supposed to be off, and now I have to work. So
It's the grind.
Yeah. Luckily, it's not till 6. So
We're good.
Yeah, but frustrating nonetheless.
For sure.
But it's bartending, so at least I'll probably make a nice chunk of money.
Yeah. I don't know if I ever could.
Ever could bartend?
No.
I actually love it.
Yeah. But you were a G at it whenever I was working with you.
Yeah.
You were really good at it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I enjoy bartending. I enjoy it more at my job at Garden Grill. One, because there I'm really bartending. I'm making, crazy drinks. And
Where is that?
Garden Grill. It's over in that same
Plaza?
complex.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's the steakhouse.
Oh, it's the newer one. One of the newer ones.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, I love it over there. Manfred's I like because I make the money. Mm-hmm. Like I make, it's always busy.
Classic Steve-O place, man.
Yeah, it's been open for 30 years.
Yeah.
But it's always busy.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily like the job as much.
Yeah.
So it wears me out because I'm dealing with a different level of clientele, we'll say.
Yeah, different types of people, man.
Yeah.
Sure.
And most of them are fine and great, but it's just like these people are coming in here to straight up get fucked up.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
different, way different, like type of drinking.
Yeah, like over there, people are coming in to have like a couple of drinks they like, smoke a cigar,
hang out, have some conversation.
Yeah, they're not in there to like, okay, we're getting fucked up tonight,
we're
boys.
Gonna ruin it.
Yeah, and that's what Manfred's is. Trust me, I've been that guy that goes into Manfred's to get fucked up.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good time.
Yeah. But we were talking about CrossFit. So I was reading an old article about CrossFit because I wanted to dive into some of the perceived negatives and perceived pros of CrossFit. So I found this article on it. It is an old article. It's from 2014. It's by John Sellis. And it just had 3 pros, 3 cons. It actually starts with the pros. I want to start with the cons because I want to finish on a positive light.
Oh, I love it.
So the first one is lack of personalization is what they say is the first CrossFit con. And I think they're basically just saying that, you have the same workout for advanced and beginners. And they think that is a mistake, which
it could be.
It could be.
Yeah. My take on that is, so CrossFit usually, they say program for the best, but scale for the rest. So the cool thing about, and it's not just CrossFit that came up with this, it's just they marketed it, right? So it's any movement that you have, you can scale it down, whether that's with weight repetitions or the movement. So that I think CrossFit can get a really bad rap.
Yeah.
Just like anything, there's people that are good at what they do. There's people that are less good at what they do. And I think it's just dependent on the professionalism of the coach who's coaching the class to be able to look at somebody and say, okay, we're going to scale this back.
Yeah.
And that just takes initiative. It takes being aware. It takes being experienced to say, okay, this is way out of this person's like capacity at the moment.
Right.
So how can we get them to do a movement that suits them better? I don't disagree with the lack of personalization at all.
Yeah.
And I think it's also related to nutrition. Like, there's no such thing as a good or bad diet. There's just right or wrong applications for nutrition.
Yeah.
So some people might do really well with like a carnivore. Some people might do well with macro tracking. Some people might do really bad with macro tracking, depending on like their current emotional state or their history with nutrition in general.
Yeah.
So it's up to knowing what the goal is of the person and kind of figuring out what is the right or wrong application to implement to get that person on the right course.
Yeah. I will say with the one class I went to down at CrossFit, they did actually 2 things. One, they did personalize that workout I did that day a little bit, like
towards you.
Yeah, instead of doing the ring full on pull ups, they had me like do like a body lean pull up. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So they helped me out in certain aspects of it, and then pushed me hard on the other aspects.
Yeah, for sure. I like that. See, and that takes experience and just awareness to look at that and say, okay, this is how we have to approach it.
Yeah, and then at CrossFit Effect, after that I went to 2 beginner classes. They actually did have beginner classes where they were trying to teach you the motions and the fundamentals. Yeah,
I'm all about that.
Yeah, so it was when I read that I believe that probably does happen quite often, but
Yeah.
I think some gyms are doing it correctly. They're trying to warm you into doing the full go.
Yeah, and I think like it just depends, right? Because in CrossFit, if you're trying to just go and get a workout in, there's nothing wrong with the group classes. Just scale it back to your capacity. But if you're a competitor like me, I've had an individual coach for 4 years. He helps me with my specific holes.
Right.
That's where, and even like my nutrition, like I'm a nutrition coach, but I have one of my own because I believe in it. I need it. Like
right.
I practice what I preach, and I need my own specific parameters and things that I need to improve on. Like for me, I don't need to worry about strength metrics as much because I'm really strong. I need more of like cardiovascular endurance more often than my strength metrics.
Yeah.
So that's where the personalization might come into play, you know?
Right. Well, and like I said, this is an old article because with what you just said, I think cancels out the second con that they have listed here, lack of programming, because it says everybody is unique, and it says when you do programming with personalization, it attacks your weaknesses, which is what you were literally just describing you do.
Right. Which I honestly, like, it's tough, man, because I used to try to group program, and there's no such thing as good or bad group programming. It's like, it's just group. Like, everybody's so different. So this is true. Like, the lack of programming and individualization, like, it's so true, but it just depends.
Yeah.
I feel like every answer is just, it depends.
Right.
You know?
It depends on what you're looking for, how much you're trying to dive in. Because if you're not going to, like you, since you're competing, I get what you're saying now, because since you're competing, you are actually going to somebody where you're not doing a group program. You are actually just going just for you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess in most places, and you're not competing, you're just doing a group thing.
Yeah.
They're not doing more personalization.
Right, right. And you should be fine going in. I mean, that statement has merit. I try to like look at every angle. Like that could be true in some cases, but it's also not true in some cases. Mm-hmm. So
it did. Yeah. The last one they had on here was lack of scalability, which you walked in as I was kind of going through this one, so I'm not even sure what they mean by that. Maybe you can lean me into that, because I'm really not sure. No,
I mean, I disagree with this one. Like, you just scale back. The hard part's dealing with people's emotions whenever they come in, because like if you get a dude that comes in, he's like wants to crush it, and then you're like, all right, bro, like you don't have the range of motion yet to do this. Like,
you're gonna end up hurting yourself.
Yeah, you're gonna hurt yourself. Yeah. Like, that's a complicated thing. But as far as like what you can scale, I just think it comes down to being professional. Look at somebody with their long-term interest in mind, and looking at and having a conversation with them as a coach, and be like, we have to scale back. This is how we're gonna do it. Right. You're still gonna get a good stimulus from it. You're gonna get a good workout. You're gonna sweat. But yeah, everything's scalable. You could scale a thruster into an air squat. You could use a unweighted or just an empty barbell. You could do the lean back pull-ups or the ring rows or something like that. So again, like, this is an old article, but I understand what they're trying to say. Yeah. You know, it's the same with any training methodology. Like in jiu-jitsu, you just go slower. Right. Just don't try to kill somebody, you know.
Even when I was in good shape, like the best shape I was ever in, I had a couple people ask me to like give them workout routines, and I quickly had to realize that they couldn't do the same thing I was doing. So like you said, and no matter what program you're doing, you have to look at that.
Yeah, everybody's so different, man. Everybody has different needs and degrees of needs, and it's just it gets dicey, you know. But it just comes down to trying to get the people on the right path for the long game. You know,
right? Because the long game is where it's at.
Long game is everything,
and you want them to continue to work out, not work out for a month or two, and to be like, I'm burnt out on this. Exactly. I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Because that happens, especially like as a business. You don't want to. You have to find the right dose for the right person. Yeah. Right? Because if I just overwhelm this woman who's coming in, is like intimidated by the barbells, and I just start making her lift weights constantly, instead of giving her small little doses, it's probably not going to end well. And then she might like be a little bit more intimidated doing stuff like that. So
not just more intimidated and not want to do it, but also, again, since she's never messed with it, she's intimidated by risk of injury.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. You might be overextending a little bit, and just like you want to give people bite-sized things that gives them confidence. Right. I think. Like, even me, I want that. Mm-hmm. You know?
Who doesn't want that? Everybody wants a pat on the back.
Yeah, exactly.
So now we'll dive into the 3 pros they had. And one of them we kind of already talked about is the strong community.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Which, like I said, I related almost the 2 strongest communities I seem to have recognized recently is the CrossFit community, and also the like AA. Like those two communities just seem to always have each other's back and try to take care of each other.
Massive support.
Yeah, just a massive support system.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so we already touched on that. We don't got to go too far there. Then exciting atmosphere.
It is, man. It's just hype. It's hype. Like you go in, the music cranks up. Everybody's like, it's like an electric atmosphere. I think that's why it's also addicting, because like just floods your brain.
Right.
Like it's like a concert. You go in, you're training hard, you're sweating, releasing all the chemicals. Cortisol super high, so you're like ramped up. You know? And then you get done, and everyone's high fiving. So it's good. It's good. I like it.
Yeah, I've definitely experienced that when I went to that one class for CrossFit, and it was like a group competition. So there was like 2 or 3 of us on a team.
Yeah.
The thing I liked about that too was actually something I was weaker in. If somebody on the team was stronger at it, they could pick up the slack.
Yeah, and you can rest and like pick up your area wherever you need to, which is cool. Teamwork.
Yeah, I'm a big component of teamwork. I love that in every aspect of life.
Yeah, you just perform higher because you have a job to do.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. And then the last one, which to me was one of the big things, because I always played sports my whole life, but the last one is competition. And I love that aspect of it, because a lot of working out doesn't have competition except for with yourself.
Definitely.
And in CrossFit, there seems to be a friendly competition against other people.
Very.
It doesn't seem like people go out there and hate each other. Even though they're in competition with that person, they're still cheering them on if they're doing great.
Yeah. Even on like the professional end, it's very polite usually. Like for the most part, it's very polite. You have people from different countries. You have people from different backgrounds coming in. And like you take it seriously on the competition floor, but afterwards everybody's hanging out, joking around, having fun. Like it's just, at the end of the day, it's just fitness. But on a deeper level, the competition aspect brings out something out of you that like you probably wouldn't get on your own.
Right.
You can't simulate it. No matter how hard you try to go, it's very difficult to simulate being in a room with other people.
Yeah.
That will push you past what you believe is possible, which is cool. I like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's pretty much all I had for the CrossFit. I would say anybody that's interested in it, I would say definitely go try and do one class and just get a feel for it.
And just dip your toe in it. Don't go hard. Don't try to be a hero, because you're not.
Don't wreck yourself on one day.
Yeah, it's not worth it. Go in, have a discussion with a coach. Go in, and this could be translated to anything. Like go in, try it out, see how you feel, and embrace the difficult challenge of being a beginner.
Yeah,
you know,
like that time I went. Like I said, I was in pretty decent shape at the time, and I was strong.
Yeah,
I could do decent amount of weight. I had good pull, but I knew going in that I'm not going to blow the socks off these guys. These guys know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They've been doing CrossFit for a while. They have the motions down. I mean, even the way you guys do pull-ups, which
the kipping,
in which in some ways a lot of people think of, and I've even been guilty of it, think of it as cheating in some ways,
right,
because you can do more
fake pull-ups.
Yeah. I mean, you're still 100% getting a workout, and you're adding a massive cardio aspect into it with the kipping.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. But I feel like, if you can do 10 regular pull-ups, you might be able, if once you have the motion down and get it, you might be able to do 20 pull-ups with kipping. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, 100%. Like I could do 40 to 50 kipping pull-ups and like maybe 15 to 20 strict pull-ups. It's so different. And that's the thing, is like it's just different. I think kipping gets a bad rap, but mostly with people who don't really understand it, because it looks silly. At first glance, it looks silly because somebody's like flinging their body on the bar, but on a functional standpoint, maybe not the best for the shoulder, but it's a sport, right?
Right.
And so in sports, like you do things that are
not necessarily optimal for like
right.
football. Like people hitting each other isn't optimal for them, but it's a sport.
Exactly. And I think that it's just one of those things in sport.
And I do think it really adds a massive cardio aspect to it with the kipping.
Yeah. You definitely breathe heavier doing kipping.
Yeah.
It's not a muscular fatigue nearly as much as a cardiovascular fatigue.
Yeah. That's definitely how I looked at it. Yeah. I forget where we were going before I said that. But
no, we were just talking about we did the pros and cons.
Oh yeah,
talking a little bit about it. We can dive into nutrition. We can dive into
I definitely want to dive into nutrition, because I think nutrition is probably more important for your overall body health than actually working out.
Yeah,
especially with what they're finding with like gut health and stuff like that now. Like gut health, so you might be able to get off of your meds like Prozac and stuff like that if you have the right gut health, which is just crazy to think.
Yeah, it's just so it's so unique for every person. And I want to preface, like, I'm not a doctor, so anything I say, like, I'm not a doctor,
right?
You know, but from my experiences, like, dieting and nutrition is so much more of a psychological event, an obstacle. Sometimes, like, most of the time,
I would say obstacle for sure, because you want to eat a cookie.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that it's important to know, like, Lane Norton. I don't know if you know who that is, but he does a lot of research in the nutritional space, and he's a very big proponent of macronutrients and what they are. So basically, you know, calories in, calories out is the infamous, you know, way of measuring nutrition, right?
Yeah.
So calories in, calories out. And using macros is a way to look at how many calories you're consuming, but breaking them down into a substrate that makes your fuel use more efficient. So proteins, carbs, and fats, and measuring how many of those you eat per day,
right?
Adding up to a specific calorie intake. Now, this is, it sounds more complex than it is. It's super easy, but basically saying, all right, you can have Oreos, and the Oreos have a specific amount of protein, carbs, fats in it, but as long as it fits within your overall calories, you're good.
Yeah,
you're good to go. Which is, you know, scientifically proven to be true. You can eat a lot of really crappy food. You might not feel the best, but the goal will still be attained, right?
Okay.
And so I think a lot of what the dieting industry over the past couple decades has done for us is a lot of disservice and a lot of, like, really negative psychology in relation to looking at dieting, right?
Yeah.
Because we look at food and we're like, oh, if I go on a diet, I'm not allowed to have things that I love. I'm not allowed to go out with my spouse or my friends and have, like, a beer and have, like, some pizza and wings every now and then. It's like, if you do that, you're not on plan. If you do that, you're going to get fat.
Right.
Which isn't true.
No.
Like, it's not true. So you have to, I think the deeper motives for nutrition need to be addressed based on an individual level, and just finding a way that allows you to do things that create discipline in your daily life, but also allow you to live life with your friends and family. So
and enjoy it.
Yeah, because if you don't enjoy it, it's not going to last. And if you get results doing something you don't enjoy, the results aren't going to last either.
Right. Yeah.
And so, like, all diets are basically, like, by the end of it, any health mag that you look at is like, all right, here's what you have to eliminate.
Yeah.
Here's what we're stripping from you.
Pretty much all diets are elimination diets.
Right. And it's like, well, my approach is like, what can we have? What are we allowed to have?
Yeah.
Like, what can we have in your day that will align with your goal, instead of looking like glass half full?
Right. That's
like,
what I was going to say. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, what are we allowed to have that will make you feel good, get you closer to the life that you want to live, work with your schedule, and still, like, have a decent amount of nutrients? And there's no food on the planet, like, well, I don't care who you are, vegan, carnivore, like, there's no food on the planet that you can't have and still get to the goal.
Right.
The complication comes in finding something that works with your schedule, something that you find that is manageable for you as a person,
right?
Which, you know, over time, conversations and, like, implementing little changes here and there. And then the most difficult part is the patience, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, the patience to see the results, because things don't change overnight, and I don't care how many magic pills they advertise for you on TV, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's just very complex. But I don't think, like, my philosophy whenever it comes to eating and nutrition, because most people come to me, they're like, I want to lose weight, I want to lose body fat. I'm like, cool, like, let's take a look at everything. But most people are under eating already. They're under eating, they're overworked, which, surprise, surprise, like, who's not overworked in our society, right?
Yeah.
And then their idea of, like, no one ever comes to me, well, very few people come to me and they're like, I want to eat to support lifestyle, and I want to just feel good every day.
Yeah.
I've had people that do that, but it's few and far between. So most people come to me and they're like, I really want to lose the fat. I want to get lean. I want to feel good in my body. I'm like, okay, well, like, let's talk about your dietary history. Let's talk about things that you've tried in the past. How did it work with your body?
What workout you're doing?
Yeah. What are you doing for training? Like, what's the fuel source got to be? Because if you're doing CrossFit, you're probably going to need more carbohydrates to support the glycolytic factor of that, because everything in CrossFit is glycolytic. So if you're under eating carbs, you're probably going to stress your body out, and then you're not going to feel good. And there's no point in getting leaner if you're feeling terrible.
Yeah, none.
So you have to look at the bigger picture. You have to ask the hard questions and be like, okay, well, like, if you've tried 8,000 diets in the past, let's have a conversation about, like, what this really means to you.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just about losing some body fat. It's about, all right, we got to figure out how we can make this the last diet possible.
Right. And, like, make it sustainable for you over your lifetime.
Yeah. Like, I always say, like, let's get you on course to get you to the life that you want to live. Not the life I want for you. Not the life that you like other people say is right in the nutrition space. But like, it might take a long time. like it's going to take a long time.
Yeah.
But let's find out what that means, right? Like, because if you're working a 9 to 5 or if you're working night shift, like a lot of people will be like, oh, I can't eat past this time. It's like, no. What if your schedule, you have to?
Right.
Like law enforcement officers, let's say you get off at like 10 p.m., right? Or like 11 p.m. What, are you not going to eat dinner?
Right.
Like, you have to eat something. So finding what works with that person and allowing them, like knowing what foods they like and what they don't like and setting non-negotiables from day one, I think is a reason why a lot of my clients have been successful. So
I like what you said
little
too.
Rant there.
Yeah. But there's a lot of things I want to try to unpack in there. One, I like what you said about you got to fit your schedule, because intermittent fasting has become a massive thing, and from everything I've seen, it's a truth. Like it's good for people. You eat within this window.
Yeah.
But people saying, "Oh, you can't eat late at night." Like me, I get done bartending. Sometimes I don't get home till 3:30 in the morning. I'm gonna eat something when I get home.
100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So my intermittent fasting might just be a different time frame than most people's intermittent fasting.
Yeah, just move the window.
Right, exactly. And so I like what you said about that. Also carbs, because how long have we been told no carbs? Even with the keto diet, keto is like, I think people have somewhat of a misconception, because I think you can live in ketosis while eating carbs. It just, you can't eat too many carbs.
Right, and it's very tricky coming out of it. It's very tricky coming out of it.
Coming out of ketosis.
Yeah, because most people just do keto. The traditional keto is like keto, lose a bunch of weight, and then like they go on vacation. Right. You know, and then it's like, oh God. And then they come back and they're like, I gained 15, 20 pounds. And so that's just like a lot of what I've seen, you know, from my experience. But there's tons of people that do ketosis and they're fine. Like, they're high performers in the space. Like, they're crushing their life and it works for them. But, you know, they went out on that journey and they did it probably in the appropriate manner and they did it slowly. And the same thing should go for all, I think, nutritional applications. Just like how we said, be a student and beginner starting off into something. And the same thing goes for like a food adjustment. And so like, even whenever I hired my coach, we started off with everything that I know. And he was like, we need to make these changes. I said, okay, we're gonna start slow. We're gonna ease into it and see what happens. You know, we gave it 2 weeks. Okay, this is what changed. Talk about it, kind of disconnect all emotions. Like, even though like my body weight was going up on the scale and I was like, you know, I'm hiring you because I want to lose fat. We had discussions and we put things into context instead of me assuming that the plan was wrong. Right. You know, so because 2 weeks, 4 weeks, that's just a flash in the pan. It's
and it's not enough. I even tell people this when they start working out, that because they're working out because they want to lose weight, but they also want to lift weights. Well, you're going to put on weight at first because your muscle is more dense and weighs more than your fat. Yeah. So what I tell people is do more looking in the mirror than you do looking at your scale.
Yeah, I agree with that. 100%. Because weight's it's a terrible metric. It's a terrible metric. I'm 5'5", 185, and my BMI is 30.0, which means I'm obese. I'm clearly not obese, right? So, you know, but you have people going to doctors in our Western medicine practices, and like they go by BMI, and I get it. It's like on a large scale population standpoint, it might make sense to use BMI as a reference point for overall health as far as like weight's concerned. Because then you could like categorize people into, hey, cholesterol within these BMI ratings might be higher or lower, which means like we need to pay attention to, you know what I'm saying, right? I
know exactly what you're saying.
So, but on an individual level, it might be a little bit different because obviously I'm not obese. So there's definitely holes in it, as there is to everything. But the scale just doesn't tell you anything. You know, like it tells you one thing. It tells you weight.
And actually, a lot of people don't know who Frankie is when he says he's obviously not obese. So you can obviously check out the Instagram and stuff he checked out earlier. But I'd say most people know who Joe Rogan is. Mm-hmm. And according to Western medicine, Joe Rogan is obese.
Yeah.
And
so his BMI is.
So if you know who Joe Rogan is, that's what we're talking about. Joe Rogan is considered obese, but he's obviously not obese.
Yeah, and they only take into consideration 2 variables. So height and weight, and that's it. Yeah, they don't even take into consideration like activity level, who you are,
muscle, fat,
nothing. Yeah, which I get it. I mean, I feel like it's pretty lazy, but I also don't have something better, so like I don't know what to do. Yeah.
I think the real measurement should just be are you comfortable in your body?
Yeah.
And how do you feel?
Yeah.
You know, because I think, especially when it comes to diet, how you feel is such a big thing. Like some people do keto and they feel like shit. Like for me, when I feel the best is when I'm pretty strict with high fat, higher veg, and I considered it kind of keto. I always called it keto-ish because I'm not testing to see if I'm in keto.
Yeah.
But I also have carbs in there because I'm not afraid of carbs. I know that I shouldn't eat 3 loaves of bread.
Right. What you said super important. The physical changes follow the physiological changes, and that's what one of my mentors taught me whenever I first like embarked on this journey of running my own company. And what that means is basically, you know, your body feels a specific way and it gives off signals. So obviously, like, if I'm tired, if I'm hungry, if I'm satisfied after eating,
right.
If I have gut health issues and issues using the bathroom, if I have sleep disruption, if I have no sex drive or libido,
right.
Like, or if you're a female and you're late on your cycle, or if you have really aggressive symptoms around your cycle, like these are all signals, right?
Yeah.
And if you interpret these signals and you start educating yourself, which is usually how I make nutritional adjustments in people's overall quantitative intake.
Yeah.
It allows the person to learn their body more and the fluctuations of what they feel. And,
right.
And they're like, okay, this is normal for me to feel this way. This is, you know, or I start to feed them a little bit more. They're like, my hunger is going crazy. Okay, well, now your metabolism is kicking up. That means we were probably not eating that much.
Yeah.
Right. So the thing that I think that I've done a decent job at is teaching people those signals and saying, okay, what is, like, why am I hungry now? Why is my energy increasing, or why is my energy a little bit low? And so now they start to dissect things, not too deep or too much. Like, it's not a very stressful thing to do, but they're starting to understand that, like, the way that they're eating and how much they're eating actually has a purpose, and it's actually to make their body feel a lot better.
Yeah.
You know, so I feel like if you feel good and you're listening to your body and you're not just like trying to lose weight and suffer the consequences of like just feeling terrible every day, you're probably on a good path, you know, because something that shouldn't be taken for granted is how well you feel in the day.
Yeah.
Like quality of life. We talked about that before the podcast.
Right. Because to me, that should be the whole key regardless. I know that a lot of us, including me, we also have vain goals, you know what I mean, where we want to look good.
Yeah.
But really the ultimate goal should be, man, I feel great every day I get up.
Yeah.
You know.
Definitely. I've gotten people really lean and it doesn't make them any happier.
Right.
You know, I've gotten people to either stay the same on the scale or increase their weight on the scale, and then they're even leaner in the mirror, but they're still not happy because of the number on the scale. So there's a lot of different it's so dicey, and it's very challenging for me because like I said, I feel like the psychological portion and developing trust and even having conversations like this with people is the way to really dive deep and truly help people, you know, because handing people a cookie cutter plan really isn't going to address their needs.
Yeah. Oh, and I don't like anything about a cookie cutter plan. I think if people want to try to diet, they either need to do their own research and figure it out and not just follow the diet that they read online to the T, or actually get somebody that is going to personalize things for them.
Yeah.
Because everybody's different. Everybody's body's going to react different to different food intakes.
Dude.
Like, for example, a big diet that's going around right now is the carnivore diet, where you just eat nothing but meat. And I can't say I would recommend that for everybody, but when I listened to Jordan Peterson,
loves it.
It changed his life.
Yeah,
he felt like shit.
JP fan.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was feeling like shit every day, and then he started eating nothing but meat, and now he feels great every day.
Yeah.
And even if you watch the video podcasts of him, because he's been on a bunch of the podcasts I listened to a bunch of times, but he actually even looks healthier than he did before.
Did you see like his earlier lecture videos? He had a little bit thicker face.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like even now he seems a lot more sharp.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy.
It
does seem like I don't think that's going to work for everybody.
No, absolutely not.
Because people, it's dangerous, I would feel like, for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, it's working for him, and it worked for his daughter. His daughter had all these I forget what it was, like allergies or something like that.
Some autoimmune issues.
Autoimmune issues. That's what it was. They both have autoimmune issues, and this carnivore diet has pretty much fixed those for them. And they're also being very smart about it. People, just so you know, they're going to regular doctor visits, getting their blood work tested regularly.
Yeah. Blood work is important.
Very important. It's but that's just a perfect example of it doesn't work for everybody, but you have to figure out what works for the individual person.
Yeah. I've even done it on a business standpoint. Like I've hired, like something that I've done, like, and we live in such a world where you could just message anybody and ask them questions.
Yeah.
Like, well, okay, the worst thing that's going to happen is like they don't answer.
Right.
So like I've hired multiple business coaches. I've hired, or like mentors. I've hired multiple nutrition coaches. And what I've done was, number one, I wanted the service because I needed help.
Yeah.
Because I mean, just because I know how to help people doesn't mean I know how to help myself.
Right.
And so
I'm a big proponent of that. I'm pretty good at helping other people. I'm shit at helping myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially because like yeah, basically. And same thing for training. Like what I did was I hired a bunch of coaches and mentors, and I looked at, okay, how do they work with me?
Yeah.
You know, how does the system that they are implementing for my life working with me? How are they having conversations? How are they like, how did I pay them? What system did they use? And the same thing goes for just like communicating with people on Instagram, asking people for help. At like DM multiple people or comment on their posts, or just like message them and ask them questions that you have. And see what different people say. Right. Different people might have different inputs, but then what you can do is like decipher through the processes of the coaches that you hire, or you could decipher through the nutritional questions and food questions that you ask other people on Instagram or social media or through email or wherever. Yeah. And say, oh, okay, well, these are the things that I could probably benefit from, and these are the things that I could probably not benefit from, and then just ditch those aside.
Exactly. Absorb as much information as you can, and then figure out what works best for you from that information.
Yeah, and then it's a constant, man. Like there's no end goal to nutrition. It's just like you're gonna eat till you die. Right. Like it's what keeps you alive. So figuring out how you want to handle it, how you want to balance alcohol with it, how you want to balance water intake, coffee intake, and just as you go about your life, like, you know, I have married couples as clients. It's like, well, they want to have a glass of wine with dinner once a week. I'm like, do it. Like, what am I going to say to you that, like, if I can't work around that, then we have a problem, you know, like there's some non-negotiables, and
especially just once a week. Like there's plenty of people like Aubrey Barkus has at least a glass of wine a day. You know what I mean? And he's in phenomenal shape. You know?
Exactly. But there's that misconception, and you don't know until you're exposed to it and stuff like that. So yeah, man, that's basically my philosophy. Just finding what works for the person, you know, and also understanding not all food is good for you. You know, I have clients who can't even eat green bell peppers because of like they have issues with their gut, and I can't eat Kodiak cakes pancake mix because it makes me tired, and I have to pay attention to eating bananas. But that doesn't mean the food is bad. So labeling things as good or bad, it just means I can't have it. Like I'm not.
It's
so
just
special.
different for your body.
Exactly. Like I'm not so special that bananas are bad food. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Right. So just knowing what works for people and helping them decipher through all that noise. You know?
Why can't you eat bananas?
So they just make me tired.
Oh,
like,
really?
Yeah. So I was eating like 3 bananas a day, and I was like, man, like I'm just tired all the time. And so, which I shouldn't have been. Like, I mean, I train hard, but I eat enough food and I sleep well. Yeah. I shouldn't be tired. And the same thing happened after eating Kodiak pancake mix. Yeah. I just like got a debilitating fog, and that's usually one of the signals for having like either like an intolerance or a sensitivity. Yeah. And so I was like driving to my friend's house, and I was like, man, I might need to like pull over because I'm getting that foggy. Yeah. And I was like, it's probably Kodiak cakes. So,
how were you taking your bananas? Were you just eating them?
Just eating them.
Okay. Because one thing I learned from Dr. Rhonda Patrick is a banana is a good health food fruit, but when you put it into a blender, it turns it to straight sugar.
Yeah. Yeah, I might need to blend it. I mean, so like I still eat them sometimes, but I think I was eating them too much, way too much. Like I'm not gluten intolerant, but there was a time where I was eating like 3 to 4 bagels a day recently. Yeah. And so like I was getting bloated, and I was like, I think I'm eating a little bit too, like, because I eat a lot of carbohydrates because I train so much. Right. And I removed a little bit of the gluten. You know, I talked about it with my coach. All the bloat is kind of gone. I mean, I had a bagel this morning. Fine. I think it's just the amount that I was putting in at one time was a little bit too much. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. And I get what you're saying with that, because I had never really had any gluten issues. And then when I first started working at the pizza shop and I was just eating mass amounts of pizza, I definitely was getting a gluten intolerant response. Yeah. Like I was feeling crazy bloated. Like one time my stomach... It wasn't even the feeling. The feeling was there, but it was also visibly noticeable.
Yeah, like a little distension almost.
Yeah. The little is not even the word.
Pregnant.
Actually, I was dating a girl at the time, and we pretty much lived together, whether it be her place, my place. We always stayed together. And one night I was bitching about it, and she was like, I'm tired of hearing you whine about this. And then I stood up and she went, oh my God, what's wrong with your stomach?
You're like, I'm 9 months pregnant.
Like I'm not just whining to whine. Like this is so uncomfortable.
Yeah. And that's what happens, man. Like for me, for anybody, if you're eating something over and over, like just look at it and maybe, and don't strip away. Just like reduce.
Yeah.
Just reduce. Reduce frequency, reduce the amount. Like just don't remove it.
Right.
Reduce the amount.
Right.
Just a little bit. So.
Now, just out of curiosity, what's your diet like? Do you do vegan? Do you eat meat?
Everything.
You eat everything?
Yeah, I eat everything. Like I go to Fresh Twist sometimes and get some vegan food.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Right.
Like
Absolutely.
I eat meat. I eat cheese. It just depends. Like I track my macros just because it's easy for me.
Yeah.
So I have a calorie goal of like 3,300, and then I have macros like protein, carb, fat goal. And yeah, basically just try to hit those every day and feel pretty good. Like I obviously try to make the majority of what I consume whole quality food.
Right.
And then, but if I like want some sweets or something, I'm going to fit it in.
Yeah.
You know,
that, I think portion size is a big part of most people's problem. Like those people that whenever they get a steak, they're getting like a 8 to 12 ounce steak and eating it in one sitting. That's, I always tell people, in my opinion, you should be doing like 4 to 6 ounces for your meal of your protein.
Yeah, definitely. It's hard if you go to a restaurant too, like if you're with buddies though, and then you get like a big porterhouse steak or something. But I think intermittent fasting is good for portion control. I'll say this: all diets that are trying to get people to lose body fat are ultimately putting you in a caloric deficit. Period. I don't care if it's
explain caloric deficit.
So calories in, calories out. You want to burn more than you take in. You want to do it in such a small amount that you can do it over the course of time and lose weight slowly. Yeah. The more calories you remove, the more harm you're going to cause in your metabolism. So it's important that you gradually reduce the amount of food that you're eating in relation to what you're doing for exercise every day. And so you can monitor that with a lot of different things. You can measure with a measuring tape. You can pay attention to physiological biofeedback metrics, which is basically hunger, sleep, libido, energy throughout the day. Are you crashing? Things like that. Now, you don't want to dive too deep into a deficit and just like start starving yourself, which is what most diets and most people do.
Right.
And so any diet in the world that gets somebody to lose fat is usually putting them into a caloric deficit.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, intermittent fasting, I commented and said that's a pretty decent way for people to put themselves into a deficit, just because you only have a specific, what is it, like 8 hours? The normal window is like, or you have 8 hours to get your calories in.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to fit that much food in 8 hours compared to having 12 to 14 hours.
Yeah. And honestly, at that point, when you're at your deficit is when you're like relaxing and sleeping.
Exactly.
Which is when you should probably be at your deficit.
Yeah, for sure. It just like unconsciously like makes people stop thinking about food as much because they're busy on their work. Like I helped my friend. All I said was, "Hey man, you should try intermittent fasting. Let's see if it works with your schedule. Here's what it would look like." He did it, lost 40 pounds.
Oh shit.
Good for him. Like I'm happy for him, And it went from like 345. He's like at 303, 305. And I'm like, dude, like if it works for you, sweet.
Yeah.
I have a lot of people I'm not doing that with, but for you, it was spectacular.
Right.
And with that progress, with that little bit of results, he's like, I like this. I think I'm going to start paying attention to like what I'm eating more and like how much I'm eating. Like he stopped eating out Chinese all the time.
Yeah.
Stopped doing all of the fast food. And he's like making food at home. I'm like, man, that's awesome. So that confidence starts coming in.
Yeah. And to me, that making food at home is really just one of the biggest keys, because in our busy lives, because we're working and stuff, you always end up going through the fucking drive-through.
Yeah.
And
it's so easy.
Yeah.
So
and
easy.
I fall into it all the time, and I always feel worse. And I know I do. I don't know why I continue to do it.
Yeah.
But
it's habit too, because like you just develop habits, and like we develop saving habits, spending habits, like like social media is a really bad addiction that I have. Like just checking my phone. It's like just these little habits that become autopilot, and food is one of them. Like we fundamentally know these are the sources of food. Yeah. I go to these places whenever I'm hungry.
Right.
I go to them because it's frequent, it's cheap, it's easy, and blah, blah, blah. But it takes a mindful effort it's hard. Yeah. It takes discipline, like, because discipline's hard. And so, like, you do it a little bit less.
Yeah.
You do it instead of 3 times a week, 2 times a week.
Right.
Like anything any improvement is a good improvement. So.
Yeah, it's something that I'm really struggling with right now, the fast food part, because like I said, I get done with work at like 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And it's like, am I going to go home and cook food at 3:30 in the morning? No,
Yeah.
I'm going to swing through the drive-through.
Yeah,
and
eat and then probably crash or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It's very easy, man. It's very easy. But there's also easier ways you can prepare at home and have something there waiting for you at home.
Right.
But that just takes a little bit of work on the front end.
Right, just like on your days off,
Yeah.
get your meal prep done.
Yeah, I like a lot of meal prep services. So they ship meals to your house. You just have them and microwave them.
Right.
I really like those. I like some of those. A lot of my clients do well with those. I've used them multiple times.
But it's usually fairly expensive, isn't it?
Some of them.
Yeah.
Some of them. I mean, compared to like if you go to the drive-through, probably a couple bucks more.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at the ROI, on a health standpoint,
Yeah.
you're probably going to benefit from spending a couple extra bucks there.
Yeah.
Just depends.
I might ask you some questions about those quick microwave ones that you can do, because most of the ones like me and my mom together, we get one of those ones where they send food to your house, but then you have to like full on cook it.
Yeah,
you know what
like
I mean?
Blue Apron or something.
Stuff like that.
HelloFresh,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really need something with my schedule now, especially while I'm getting used to the new schedule, where it's just quick and easy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna have some questions for you on
Yeah, I
that.
got your back, dude.
One thing I wanted to touch on, because I saw Amanda Gill.
Yep.
She's been doing working with you.
Yep.
And one thing she brought up was sleep, and you've said it a couple times, and I don't think people realize how important sleep is.
Yeah.
And I wanted to touch that with you because I also listened to Dr. Something Walker on Joe Rogan, and getting the right amount of sleep can just completely change your life.
Yeah, definitely.
How many hours do you think for a basic person they should get?
I think 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think 8. You hear, but see, and then you hear people who are like, man, if I get 8, I don't feel that good.
Right. They feel groggy throughout
Yeah,
the day.
Yeah, see, for me, like, I do 9. But
Oh,
I have,
really?
Yeah, I have my life set up in a way that I can do 9. Some people can't.
Right.
Some people have to do 5 to 6. I mean, does it suck? Yeah. So I think taking as much as you can get, if you're somebody who can't really change their sleep schedule,
Yeah.
deal with what you got, work in the other areas of your life to kind of improve your energy.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What seems to work for me that I've just recently been doing is I go to bed, and a problem I used to have is I would sleep real hard for like 3 or 4 hours and then wake up. But I got such good sleep that I feel kind of energetic, and I would try to just force myself to stay in bed.
Yeah.
So now what I've done is I'll see if I can fall right back asleep. If not, I get up, I take care of a couple of things on my checklist for the day, and then I might end up going back to sleep for a little while.
Yeah.
And that seems to be really.
Is that working well?
It seems to be really working for me.
There you go.
I my energy level peaks. It's like when I would just try to stay in bed and fight getting up.
Yeah.
Then I would end up feeling groggy.
Yeah.
So I probably end up with probably 8 hours of sleep a day, but I'm doing it kind of in cycles.
Yeah.
But biggest thing was using that time where I wake up in between to get something done or be
And that
productive.
Yeah. See, that's the thing,
Less
man.
stress for me, everything.
I mean, there's so much literature out there and information that I've basically come to the conclusion that, I mean, there's no way. There's no cookie cutter black and white
There
way,
just
dude.
isn't.
Yeah. Like there's so many, like even for like, imagine a podcast business. This is the right way. It's like, no.
Right.
Like you can't write a textbook on somebody like you
Yeah.
who's just, he wakes up, work for a couple hours, go back to sleep, has great sleep. It's like, why would I try to force something in there,
Right. And it's the first time I felt good about my sleep.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now you're like, okay, I know how it works. I feel good here. And
Yeah.
and so for me, I mean, 9 hours works. It's good to go. Sometimes, depending on like how stressful the day was before, it'll determine how restful my sleep was.
Yeah.
But I think it depends on the person, as always. Like if you, like Kevin Hart talked about, he does 6.
Yeah.
And he's a high performer.
Right.
He's a very successful individual in terms of like, fame and money.
Works his ass off.
Yeah, and works his ass off in his career. So if that works for him, he knows that. And so I think I just want to encourage people to explore themselves because we're all different.
Yeah, because you have to. That goes back to what I was saying about like when you're trying to find a diet and you're like, oh, keto, so this is how the diet works, so I'm just going to follow this exactly. that might not work for you.
Dude.
Go through the testing process. Figure out what works for you.
And with social media, everybody's posting wins. Like, it's such a distorted idea of what's real.
Right. Man. Nobody wants to post the negatives.
Yeah. No one wants to post the negatives. No. And you know, you put somebody with abs showing or that looks like, or a girl that's super hot, and then you line it up with like a new nutrition plan that you're trying to roll out and get some clients for, and then make some money. Like, people are going to click on that because they want to look that way. But, right. I mean, it's all bullshit.
It's definitely misleading because it makes
my language.
no, cuss all you want. We don't give a fuck on this. But it's definitely misleading too, because those things make you feel like, okay, this for everybody is going to work in this 2-month window. I'm going to look exactly how I want, and that's just such a rare thing, if it even exists at all.
It drives me nuts because I've done them. I've done so many of them. Like I've done templates. I've done no carb. I've done high carb. I've just tried many different methods of eating, and it, like, everybody's different. And I think that's the best way to approach it. It's just like, you're a person, like, you're you. No one has gone through what you've gone through up to this point. You know, like a lot of my dietary history is impacting the way that my body responds to food now. Yeah. And everybody else's like nutritional history, like, impacts their, it's not even like, it's like a memory. Your body has this memory. So you see it in fighters who cut weight for fights. Yeah. You only got so many kicks at the bucket, man.
Right.
Like you can't do that forever.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's why they end up moving up in weight classes. Right. Whenever they're cutting down to 130, it's like, well, now they're starting to cut down to 145. Yeah. Because their body just can't run on it. It's like, I remember that place you took me to, and I'm not going back.
Yeah, like, I can't keep doing it. Yeah. And I actually wish weight cutting would just go out of fighting. Cool. It's so impossible right now, just because it gives the person who is doing the weight cutting an advantage on fight day, because they're just so much bigger.
You know what I wish? I wish there was a steroid league for every sport.
Yeah.
I do. I really do. I wish every sport had like a steroid league.
Like, hey, if you want to do steroids, you go into this league over here. Yeah. It'd be like UFC clean, UFC steroids.
Yeah, 100%. Would you watch it?
Fuck yeah.
Dude, I would watch it.
And actually, like, stuff like baseball, especially where they're not like hitting each other.
Crank
it. Give them all the steroids. I don't care. You know what I want to see? Home runs.
Exactly. I want to see people throwing ridiculous pitches.
Right.
You know, like, I want to see what it looks like.
And I want to see a guy on the right field wall throw it to home plate without it having even to hop.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
And as long as we have a coach teaching you how to do the steroids right, because I also don't want people's hearts to explode.
Right. But that's the risk reward, right? Like, that's where people go. But I don't know. I think it'd be great. I think it'd be fucking sweet to see how strong people. I mean, because let's be real, dude. Like, there's a lot of people on drugs.
A lot of people using steroids.
On drugs.
Yeah. Get out of here with the acting like everything is clean.
Right. And it's fine. I'm good with it.
Yeah.
I'm fine with people doing drugs. Like, I know people that do steroids. I got nothing wrong with it.
Right. Yeah.
Just, like,
that's your own personal preference that you're gonna do,
dude. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, I'm not gonna do it. But you can, and I want to watch. You know?
and I want to see how this plays out.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm in such a, like, my sport's clean, so they drug test.
Right.
Like, I even think they drug test for marijuana.
Yeah.
So, which sucks.
Right.
But I feel like in a sport where that's like they drug test, like, it is kind of shitty. Like, I don't like competing against people who have that competitive edge, because I value hard work, and I'm not saying they don't work hard, but, you know, I'm not on sauce. I'm not on anything.
Well, that's a thing where, like you said, having a separate league would be better, because that is what sucks. Like, you want to be a clean athlete. The place is testing. You're not spending the money to stay ahead of the curve to not test positive when you are using something.
Yeah.
And that gives them an unfair advantage.
Yeah.
That is unfortunate.
It is.
That's where it sucks.
It is, man. I feel like that would cause a lot of new problems, but eliminate a lot of the old ones that are here right now.
Yeah,
you know?
for sure.
I feel like there's not very many sports that really have that integrity.
I don't think there's any. I mean, the Olympics doesn't have it. You know, that documentary just came out not that long ago.
Was it Icarus?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. I have to watch that. I didn't even watch the Game Changers one yet. I need to watch that too.
I didn't watch that either. Yeah.
I try.
I see all these people, they watch some of these things and they're like, it changes their lives to places that I don't even necessarily want to go. Like, listen, I understand people are living great off vegan diets and stuff like that. And like my sister and Brad, they've done it right.
Yeah, they're killing it.
They kill it. They're doing so good on it. But I want to eat my meat. And they watch these docs. How it really started was Brad walked into a slaughterhouse.
Oh shit.
He was like, "Oh yeah, I want to see it." And then he was like, "Oh no, I don't know if we should eat meat anymore."
Yeah. Well, that's profound.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll change it.
Yeah, but I because of the POW school I went through.
Yeah.
When before that we were like going through the lands, learning how to survive off the land. So I had to do some of that anyway.
Yeah.
It didn't change my aspect. Like they give us a rabbit and I had to conk it over the
out,
head
yeah.
and cut it open and do all that. I still want to eat meat.
Yeah.
But what kills me is when these people are like, "Oh, we have to save all the animals. An animal doesn't have to die in order for us to survive," which is true. But there's also a population control issue.
100%.
Like you don't have to go use factory farming. We can shut down factory farming without people stop eating meat. Mm-hmm. Like Joe Rogan kills like an elk a year and it feeds his whole family for the year.
Yeah.
We have a massive wild hog problem.
Yeah.
The problem in the United States is there's not enough natural predators. We have a few mountain lions. We have a few bears. But like in Africa, they have lots of predators. So the population control kind of takes care of itself. Mm-hmm. Doesn't happen in the United States. The wild hog's a perfect example. So Louisiana, they would have to kill something like 476,000 hogs a year in order to keep the population from growing.
What?
Not to minimize it, to keep it from growing. That's enough pigs to feed the entire United States.
Yeah, and they're wild.
And they're wild. But here's what's crazy about hogs. So all those wild hogs are just domesticated pigs that got loose. So they
start growing hair and stuff.
They have the craziest evolutionary process out of any animal. So it's either a week or 2 weeks. So a domesticated pig from a farm gets out, goes into the wild. Within a week or two, it'll end up growing the hair. Its snout will grow longer, and it will grow tusks. In a week or two.
That's quick.
That is fucking quick. That's crazy.
It's like sci-fi shit.
Yeah, exactly. It's insane. Yeah. Like how is that possible? And they're causing $5 billion worth of damage a year right now.
Yeah.
Like I'm actually gonna pull up this thing, wild hog damage.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Wild hog damage. So like I saw this.
Louisiana.
Somebody posted a thing. Well, no, because it's way bigger than just Louisiana, man. They're spreading across the whole United States. It's like it's a problem in something like 28 or 30 states now. But look at this damage. Like,
yeah, to crops, just rolling them.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. There's one. I'm trying to find this one because there's one where it's like an overview.
There's like shows I've seen hog hunting.
Yeah, look at this. Look at this.
Like, what is it?
Look at all that damage. This is a crop.
Are they just eating?
It's not even just eating. They rut. They dig down for grubs. They just groups of them just plow through these areas, and like just even look at just like people's yards and shit.
Yeah, that's messed up. Just digging.
Look, this is right next, and this is right next to what looks like a well kept road.
Yeah,
and look at that. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, we definitely have a problem.
Yeah, and it's literally. It's
a plague of pigs.
Yeah, and they're because they reproduce so fast.
Yeah,
and so they're right now. The last budget I saw national budget to deal with the wild hog situation is something like $50 million, and they're like, we got to increase it. It's too big of a problem.
Man,
how insane is that?
You don't hear about that though.
You don't hear about it. The only reason I heard about it was from the Joe Rogan podcast, and then I started looking into it, and I'm like, this is insane.
I feel like podcasters this is the new way to receive information.
Oh yeah, I saw a meme and it said a guy was in a coma for like the past 20 years or something.
Just feed him Joe Rogan.
Well, it said he wakes up and he's like, oh my god, I've been out for that long. Who's the president? And they were like, well, you remember there was that show, The Apprentice? Yeah. And he's like, what? That guy's the president?
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay, well, what news source should I use to get caught up? And he's like, well, do you remember that show Fear Factor?
That's it's so trippy when you word it that way.
Yeah.
Like, what are the odds of that?
Yeah. What are the odds that two reality TV people are two of the most influential people in the world now?
Yeah. That's trippy, man.
Yeah,
I wouldn't know what the hell to do.
But with Joe Rogan, it's absolutely the truth. Not because of what he himself is doing, but the people that he has on the podcast. You know, because he just got such a wide range, whether it be scientists, political figures, just what comedians, just whatever. You get so much information.
Yeah,
I've gotten so much. The only reason I've ever been able to talk about any dietary needs or anything like that is from listening to Joe Rogan and like listening to Dr. Rhonda Patrick on there and people like that.
It's definitely opened my mind to a lot of different avenues. Like we were talking before this about just like psychedelic substances. Like I always thought they were for bums. I always thought they were for people who were just like lazy. Not weed, obviously, because like I've experienced a lot of. I mean, I used to smoke weed and like done edibles, and all that stuff.
Yeah,
but you really.
To me, it's especially when it comes to marijuana, it just depends on the person. If you want to be a lazy person, it's going to help you be a lazy person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't change your fundamental behaviors as a person.
Right. Yeah.
His podcast has exposed me to a lot of things. Like me and my dad now bond a lot over Jordan Peterson and long form discussions about just intellectual topics.
Yeah.
And that's something him and I never bonded on before. And it's interesting because it's like it leads you to books, it leads you to more podcasts, it leads you to more information. And it's just like it's concentrated on like this platform of podcasting, and you can hear people's intentions, you can hear people's bullshit. Like
it's that long format, I think, is the key. Like I don't like the podcasts that are just like 30 minutes long. Like if I want to know about a person, I want to hear them talk for an hour and a half to 3 hours.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's the key. Like one of the biggest ways that I can describe that to people is anybody who thinks they know anything about Bernie Sanders and his policies and how he wants to do the things he says. Mm-hmm. Because they just say, oh, he just wants to tax everybody. Well, no, he doesn't. Right. He went on the Joe Rogan podcast and talked for an hour and a half and actually laid out how he wants to do it. Mm-hmm. And then it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
I'm not saying everybody should go vote for Bernie. I think, everybody do your own research.
Do whatever you want to do.
But I do think that you should listen to a presidential candidate be able to talk for an hour and a half instead of being interrupted every 5 seconds during a debate.
Yeah.
Because those debates have become a shit show. They literally ask one guy a question, and as he's talking, the other one's interrupting him. You got to stop doing that shit.
Yeah,
and he
like
only
Jerry
gets
Springer,
right. And he only gets like 5 minutes to talk anyway. So let him have his 5 minutes and shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I feel. Yeah, dude. Yeah. It doesn't. It literally makes no sense. It makes no sense to me.
None. And now this year there was like 30 candidates for the Democratic side.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus Christ.
Like, these are legit problems, though.
Yeah.
Like, these are legit problems, and you're having people answer them in 5 minutes. Like they're some sort of genius people. They're not like Elon Musk. They're
right.
Like, these are just normal people. You're giving them 5 minutes to answer and solve all of the country's problems.
Right. And not to mention that when they get into the position, they're going to have a whole fucking team of people that are going to try to solve the problems.
Yeah.
And love him or hate him, Donald Trump made the debate process a lot worse because he was just out there firing insults at people.
Yeah. Celebrity death match. Yeah.
He's just like, nope, you're stupid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did he just call him stupid?
Yeah.
What the hell just happened?
Yeah. Complete unorthodox.
Yeah.
But I feel like this new form of podcasting is like, there was some, I think it was like 900,000 active podcasts.
Yeah, there's a
That's pretty sweet
ton.
though.
Yeah.
Like I think that's cool.
And anybody can do it. Like I sit here and I put a little studio in my house, and it's definitely cool. And I want to get back to what you were talking about with the hallucinogens, though, because you're right when you say everybody thinks it was just like bums who were doing them, but now you find out now that like all these multi-millionaires are doing it once or twice a year at a minimum. Yeah. For like a reset or to like help them deal with some of the stress in their life, and they don't even realize where it's coming from, but they do this deep hallucinogenic trip and come out like refreshed and better.
Yeah. I've never done any psychedelics, but I would love to try mushrooms. Like whenever I hear of people who actually have experiences, I think of what they say, right? And it's usually a profound positive thing. Like the people that I've talked to that have done mushrooms or psychedelics say that they usually walk away wanting to be a better person.
Right.
And to me, that's worth discovering.
Right.
Because I think, like, unless you are psycho, most people want to be a better version of themselves deep down.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I'm an idiot, but, like, I feel like there's a lot of things that we don't know about the mind and the consciousness. I mean,
without a doubt.
Like we don't know what's happening here, man. Like I have faith. Like, you know, I I'm a Christian, and that's my faith, and that's something that I work on every day. But again, as far as like with these psychedelics, like there's a lot of stuff that I don't know.
And all those psychedelics are natural. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I don't think that should be against your faith in any way. As a matter of fact, I think if you go through some stories of the Bible, I think there's a chance that some of those dudes were either accidentally or purposely tripping on
doing stuff. Yeah.
Like Moses in the burning bush.
Yeah.
There's actually a theory out there that bush was actually like high in like DMT, and so that's what happened.
Could you imagine? Dude? Like you see God.
Right.
Yeah. That's nuts.
And those DMT trips, when you hear people talk about them, are so crazy because everybody that talks about them has like a extremely similar experience.
Yeah, that's trippy. Like, how do you all go to the same thing?
The same place and kind of speak to the same entities or whatever?
No, see, like I don't know if I'd be able to handle. Let's see, that's why like you got. I feel like doing psychedelics would be like. There should be a progression. It's like weed, and mushrooms,
right.
and maybe ayahuasca, and like the DMT if you want to get into it. But I'll definitely try it and explore. I hear great things. I hear like really good things. You hear about the ego death and like this idea of
ego death to me is the most intriguing part.
Yeah,
it really is.
Why do you think?
Because I think everybody, even if they don't realize it, has a certain amount of ego that prevents them from doing things that might even be good for them. And because ego doesn't necessarily mean, oh, he's an egotistical asshole. Mm-hmm. Like your ego can prevent you from doing things because you're like for a very extreme term, there's a drug called Ibogaine that's helping people with heroin addiction. But so for a very extreme example, say of somebody who wants to quit heroin. Mm-hmm. So part of what prevents them sometimes, I just had a guy on that we were talking about it, is their ego, because their ego tells them that this is who they are and nobody's going to accept that they're going to change. And that is also a form of ego. And so Ibogaine is helping people because it's extremely hallucinogenic root. It's helping them tear down that thought process. It attacks the addiction center.
Interesting.
And you know what I mean? So sometimes I think ego, people always think of it as like, oh, I'm the king. That's the ego. Yeah. But there's other aspects to ego.
Identifying, putting your identity and self-worth onto things.
Right. Yeah.
You hear it a lot with athletes too.
Yeah.
Like even for me with CrossFit, in my earlier years, I took it so seriously to the point where like everything I did, I put my self-worth onto my process of like training and nutrition and competing. And basically, what ends up happening is what if I get injured or ill and I can't do it anymore and all of my identity and self-worth is on this one thing.
Right.
And then where is my identity and self-worth?
Right.
Then I feel worthless and like I don't have that tied to anything. So I do feel like that's important. It's been I haven't had any like profound trips on any drugs or anything, but I've definitely had some realizations of like being aware of that. And saying, oh, like I care too much about.
Right. There's got to be more depth to me than just this.
Than just me being good at CrossFit and just me being good at this. Like even on the nutritional coaching side, it's like I hung around a lot of really good business people, but they put too much emphasis on success and money, or money being their version of success. And like, so I started doing that too, because you become your environment. And I was like, okay, well, like, what if I stop making money? What if I like stop this upward trend of financial growth? And then I was like, okay, I need to kind of reset and find out, like, what am I really after? Because it could all end tomorrow. Like, it could all end today. Like, we don't know. We don't really know. So,
and not just that, in your business, just seeking the dollar could probably end up hurting your actual product, basically, because you're taking on too many people because you just want to keep seeing the growth. And you're not giving them the attention they need. So your business is actually worse, but your goal was financial, so the financial looks better.
Yeah. Like, any approach with the money. Like, I always believe that, everything's on the other side of hard work. I believe, there's no talent. It's just hard work. There's a lot of people that are super talented with no work ethic. Yeah. There's a lot of people that have less talent with an unbelievable willpower and work ethic. So I try to subscribe to that way of thinking and behaving. And so but I think that should be the focus, that and the mission. And the money, people will be like, oh, the money doesn't just come. I'm like, well, it does if you focus on your development. It does if you focus on your mission and processes. Like, not necessarily just the ego side of buying a new car, buying materialistic things. Right. Which there's also nothing wrong with that. No. If that's what you like. Right.
If that's something that puts a smile on your face, then that is what it is.
Right. And so for me, whenever I was like tying my identity and self-worth onto a lot of different things and metrics, like I eventually realized that, okay, I don't want all this to just be me and who I am. I want to be something that internally that I'm a little bit more proud of than that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. And I agree with you. I really want to, like, I've done hallucinogenics in my life, but I did them to party, not to like get introspective. Yeah. And now that I'm older, I really want to do the introspective side of it. But I'm also scared of it now when I'm older. Like I didn't do it before, and now I'm terrified. But
yeah,
I wanted to try to find out where to do like an ayahuasca like guided tour. Basically, is what they do.
Yeah,
where you have
Brazil, maybe like Peru.
Yeah, I'm not sure where they do it. It'd be easy for me to find out. Just listen to Aubrey Marcus's podcast for a little while, and you'd be right on it.
Yeah, for sure.
All those guys at On It, man. On It has like all these guys that are like in the best shape you've ever seen anybody, and they're all like
tripping balls.
Yeah. They're tripping like
they all seem nice.
They all seem great, nice guy. Like Kyle Kingsbury, an ex-fighter. He's like seems like the most. They all seem like the most. What's the word I'm looking for? Not legit, but most genuine people. You know what I mean? Like,
I wonder if
they're not putting on any mask. This is who they are. You know?
Yeah. I wonder if. Let me ask you this, because I'm really curious now. Like, do you think that whenever you did mushrooms for partying specifically for that intention, do you think that at the time the intention impacted your trip?
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because I just wanted to party, and I wanted to just see visuals. I just wanted to. I didn't. I think no matter what, I mean, like you said, like there's so many things about the mind that we don't know. And I think your mindset going in definitely affects the way that the trip that you have.
Interesting. So it's almost like you got exactly what you wanted.
Right. Yeah. Like I loved when I did it, you know, I was, you know, partying and having a good time, but now I wish I would have used it to be more beneficial, more like a medicine, if you will. You know what I mean?
It's interesting because it's like you got exactly what you wanted at the time.
Yeah.
Have you heard of you've heard of the law of attraction?
Yeah.
So like maybe that, and it's like if you do it this time and you're going into it with the intention of saying I want to learn something about me,
right, that
I'm terrified to learn,
right,
and I really need to deal with, so you know, and then you'll get that right, and I feel like that's interesting to me.
See, what I'm worried about is the fact that I am scared of it, that I'm worried about having a bad trip, because my fear is having a bad trip, but I feel like the only thing that would make that happen is my fear of having a bad trip.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
But if you hear about people, like even weed, like I've gotten so stoned where I'm like, it needs to end. It needs to end. Like, I've done like super intense edibles where it's like, get me out of this. I gotta go to bed.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely.
But they're important.
Yeah, I've definitely gone through a point where I ate way too many edibles. We actually talked about it before the podcast. Listen. Never eat like 200 milligrams of any edible, and it would put me in a bad spot. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I was being self-reflective at that point, but it was in a hyper negative way. Like I started thinking like, man, what if my mom died tomorrow, and am I happy with the human I am? Which is probably a good thought to have, but it was so intense that I was freaking out, and all I wanted to do is go to bed.
I think it like lifts layers up.
Yeah.
You're like, ooh, that's a dark part of me I don't really like.
Right. Yeah. But you should deal with that. I mean, I think the only way to really progress as a human being is to deal with those dark spots that you might not necessarily like.
Yeah.
But if you just let them sit there and fester and never deal with them, I think that becomes a problem.
I agree. Yeah. I think, like, you know, you hear Rogan talk about how you learn some shit on the bad trips. And I think that's true. I think it's important because, you know, you walk away from it and it's like you could do things to better yourself. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh, you're like, and Jordan Peterson subscribes to this too. I'm not sure if he's really into like drugs or anything, but he talks about owning up to your imperfections and understanding that you're flawed and using that as a motivation to better yourself as an individual and becoming the best you that you could be, you know, making your bed. And instead of worrying about the world, worrying about your own development. You hear that a lot in like stoicism as well, like philosophy and making sure that, you know, you're constantly working on the self-improvement aspect of your own life. And I mean, it might be scary to like have a bad trip and be paranoid. Yeah. But might be what we need.
Right. Sometimes. Might be completely worth it.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I just had a thought and I just lost it. I keep thinking about the fact that I have to go to work and I have to go to court.
Yeah. You got served, man.
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
I've never been subpoenaed before.
I hope I never have to do anything like that.
But that's what I was going to say. I feel like if you're not constantly trying to improve as a person, then I don't understand really what you're doing. Like if you're just going through the motions and working your job and coming home and going to bed, get up, do your job, and you're not focusing on you and trying to be the best version of you, then I don't know what we're doing. It's one of the reasons I quit management, because I wasn't focusing on things I wanted to do. I was focused on shit that didn't matter to me really. Like making the best pizza. I wanted to be the best at making the best pizza. You know what I mean?
That's a good way to look at it.
It still wasn't a passion of mine in any way, shape, or form. And I felt like I was drowning.
Yeah.
You know?
And as a man, it's difficult because, Peterson talks, and I subscribe to a lot of what he says just because it's so like admirable and straightforward.
Yeah.
And he talks about how people, not just men, but people need responsibility. People need things to be accountable for, and people need to do things that are meaningful to them.
Right.
And I think the whole retirement idea of like someday I'm going to retire and like I'm going to be done. It's like, no, dude, you're never going to be done.
Yeah.
Like you shouldn't want to be done. You should try to find like little things like this podcast for you. Like I could just tell like your energy is amazing. Like you love doing this. You enjoy doing this. And I think people need to find those things. Right. And more or less give themselves permission to do those things.
Right.
Because my friend Preston is unbelievable at detailing cars. He gets in such a flow state whenever he details cars that I'm like, dude, like you're unstoppable.
Yeah.
Like when he cleans his house, it's just something about cleaning for him that he's unbelievable with. And I'm like, you eventually need to do something with this because naturally it's just in your design.
Right.
I don't know where it is or how it happened, but it's in your design. Same thing for me with like, I love having conversations like this.
Yeah.
And I love training. So that's why I decided to do it. And
Yeah.
I feel like we're so fortunate to be spoiled in this world with opportunity everywhere and with these supercomputers with every bit of information in the world.
Every bit of information.
And we can make a career literally out of anything.
Yeah.
Like,
I think sometimes the only thing bad about the phones, I do think sometimes the phones actually sometimes hurt conversation, because instead of working through stuff, you're like, hold on, I'm just going to look it up. You know what I mean? Instead of working through it in the conversation naturally, you're like, hold on, I'm just going to look it up. But it is also good to have a definitive answer.
Yeah, definitely. That and like not giving things time to resolve.
Yeah.
Always like if you're having a text conversation, it's like bloop, 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 message after message immediately. No downtime to process the information. It's just back and forth.
Just having an immediate reaction instead of kind of taking a second and like me and Thad call it like angry thumbs.
Yeah.
Like you just start fucking flying. Really, you should type that maybe and then delete the whole thing and then be like, okay, hold on.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it, because you don't even have time to process it. And I mean, social media especially, like I have deleted Instagram and Facebook so many times off my phone.
Same.
And I find myself misopening an app to where that app used to be. And I'm like, dude, this is not good. Like this is an addiction, and I need to kind of take a step back.
It's a real, I think it is a real problem. I think it, as much as it's supposed to connect humans, I think it has also disconnected humans, because now, like, say me and you were friends for 5 years, but then we hadn't seen each other for 2 years. Like, there isn't really much of a catch-up conversation we need to have if you're very active on social media, because you'd be like, oh, yeah, man, I had a kid. I'm like, I know. I got you on Facebook, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's no catch-up conversation. But then it's also weird because, like, that's a lot of time in between.
Right.
But you feel like you know the person.
Right.
But
it's like positive and negatives.
Yeah.
But I think a big negative is it's too much time spent on it, and I think there's too much focus on I need to get this many likes. I need to, especially for, it seems to really affect the mental status of a lot of women out there. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You hear about girls getting depressed and suicidal. It happens to men too, but I just see more stories about it with women. Yeah. And then also, like, when you do get all those followers, then the people that attack you because they're mad that you have that many followers. And I think there's positive and negatives. Overall, I think it's definitely positive, especially now I have the podcast. It has to be a positive. Yeah. But there's a lot of negatives.
It's free marketing for business. It's stupid for me not to use it for marketing for business. Yeah. And to interact with people. But there's times where I get a little bit overwhelmed. There's times where I don't know if you've ever had this, but as an entrepreneur and like somebody who's responsible for all of their success and failure, I've had imposter syndrome to the max at sometimes where I'm
imposter syndrome, where you like pretend to be somebody else, or
I feel like I'm not good enough to do what I'm doing. Like,
okay,
like what gives me the right to do this, or what gives me the right to say that? Or
yeah,
like I'm not, stuff like that. It's like you're not actually like good at what you do. I get like, I've had those conversations with myself because I have this reference point of social media to see other people in my industry doing things, and I might look at it and be like, oh, they're doing it better.
Yeah,
and so that clouds my judgment of my own processes.
Right,
and then I'm just distracted at that point.
Yeah,
and so like I've had to take breaks to where I really focus in on my own mission. It happens a lot to creatives too. With so I do photography, I play guitar. You look at other people who are exceptional at what you do, and you see, oh my God, like they're so much better than me.
Yeah.
Like it's gonna take me forever to get to that point, and so that can be discouraging and a little bit toxic, or it can serve as inspiration
and strive you to push yourself harder and further.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of. I think it's just a double-edged sword, you know.
Yeah.
But it's up to us to interpret how we're using it.
Yeah,
I'd be responsible.
I do think people just need to be more responsible. Like you even see, like now in being in the restaurant business all these years, you'll see couples or even groups of people come into the restaurant, sit down, and they don't even talk to each other. Yeah. They just sit on their phone the whole entire time. Like that's crazy. That is so crazy to me.
Yeah, because it's not real. Like it's real, but it's not real.
Exactly. Like the person sitting in front of you or the people that you're with at this exact moment, that's real. Yeah. Like latch on to that and have a good time.
Experience.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. It's heavy, man. It's heavy, and we like. It's so new that we don't really like. We have some research that shows that I've read that like it does a lot of negatives, but we also just don't know the long-term consequences of it.
That's the big thing. Joe Rogan actually speaks about it quite often. I know I always reference some guys. I'm sorry, but I get a lot of information from there. But he talks about it all the time. Like it's just so new that society hasn't learned how to handle it yet, and that's really what it is. It's just like anything else new. Like I'm sure when phones first became a thing, people freaking out over phones and spending too much time on phones. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or TV. Remember it was TV back then?
Oh, yeah. TV for sure. Video games.
Oh, video. I'm a huge game nerd, so we don't even need to go down that avenue.
I don't get into... I have my PS4. For a while, I had a real Madden problem. I love playing, like, Dynasty mode, like, where I just keep the same team going. Yeah. And I make up these own storylines in my head. You know what I mean?
It's so fun.
But I'll tell you a game I'm looking forward to. We're getting sidetracked now. I don't care. That Last of Us. The second one.
Which is what kind of game is it?
It's a story mode game.
Okay.
Have you never played the first one? Oh, I think I have it out there. You have PS4?
No, I have Xbox and PC.
Yeah, but you can get it on PC. I think, but you can't get it on Xbox. You got to get a PlayStation, man. The main reason I say it is for the story mode games because
you have God of War, dude.
God of War, the one with Drake. God, what's it called? Most of the biggest story mode games are on PS4, man. Yeah. That's just plain and simple. There's no way around it. And The Last of Us is the first one was by far the best game I've ever played in my life. My girlfriend at the time, actually, she was not a gamer at all. She watched me play the whole damn thing. About it. She could not get enough of it. And is to the point where sometimes she'd be like, let me play it for a minute.
Yeah. Dude, they suck you in. The games, like...
They do.
There's one out now.
Uncharted, that's the name of the ones with Drake. There's like 5 of them.
Yeah. I've played Uncharted before.
You have? Yeah.
Yes. My friend has a PS4, so I went over his house and played Uncharted.
Yeah, you got to get a PS4, brother.
Yeah. I've had to take a step back from a game called Escape from Tarkov right now.
Okay.
It's the most realistic game I've ever played.
Really?
Oh yeah, dude. It's nuts. It's just let's just move on from it because it's too nuts.
Well, let me ask: is it on all systems or is it
it's only PC?
It's only PC. The computer I have for the podcast is a PC gaming computer. Yeah. That's what it is. But I don't want to take up the space and time on it. I want to just leave that as my podcast computer.
Put all of the energy into the podcast right now because it's just like my friend is a full-time gamer. Unless you're doing something like that, you kind of have to be responsible for your gaming time. Yeah. And it's tough though because like you might have a lot of friends that play like I do. Yeah. I have quite a bit of friends that play every day, but my goals are different and sometimes you got to
get sucked in.
Dude, yeah. Oh, it's dangerous. It's dangerous, man.
You hear about those stories, like those people that were so into like World of Warcraft You were? Yeah, but
dude.
were you the one that would like when the game came out? Would you buy like 3 cases of Mountain Dew and piss in the bottles?
No, I didn't piss in bottles. But I was in like 7th and 8th grade when I got into it.
Yeah,
and like this is so nerdy, but on one character, I have because you can see how much time you've played on a character. You just / played enter. 148 days.
Oh shit!
That means logged into the character, playing it. That's one character.
That's close to half a year,
dude, of my life sitting behind a computer playing it. I brag about it now because like I don't play it anymore.
Right.
But my God,
man, you put some work in,
dude. We like me and all my friends all throughout high school, like come home from school. This is whenever I wasn't playing sports after.
Yeah.
We just play WoW. That's it.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
So bad.
I would have never pictured that.
Part of my weight issue, probably. You know, I just say
when you had that little bit of chubbiness.
A little bit of chubby, yeah. I'm like, I wouldn't trade out the World of Warcraft.
Have you ever looked at your like? You have an iPhone?
Yeah.
Have you ever looked at your stats on your social media?
It's terrible, man.
Like just how much time you're on your phone? Yeah.
I'll do it right now.
I'm gonna look at mine too, see what it is, because again, I didn't even know you could do this until I heard about it on the Joe Rogan podcast. I gotta even remember where it's at.
Oh man. So
how much screen time do you have?
So it says screen on, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah. So like as soon as you click on screen time, it should give you a daily average.
Oh, okay. Screen time.
Yeah, settings then screen time.
See all activity week 6 hours and 10 minutes.
That's your average?
Yeah.
6 hours and 10 minutes
That's
a day.
terrible,
Think about how
man.
crazy that is.
That's crazy.
Mine's 4 hours, but mine used to be 6 to 7. But mine's 4 hours.
Mine says 38% down from last week, so that's good.
Mine actually says for this 4 hours, I've been doing pretty good apparently, because it says on mine, and I'm 94% up from last week.
That's hilarious.
What have I been doing on this?
Maybe texting. I don't know. I spent a lot of time texting like clients, sending emails and stuff.
Yeah, and that is huge. I think you can eventually go in there and break down like how much that is social media and stuff like that, because I just find myself looking at social media for absolutely no fucking reason.
Yeah. Like I said, it's just it's like I'm dumb. It's like I'm dumb. Like it's a quick fix. Like when you find yourself going from just Instagram back to Facebook back and forth.
Oh yeah,
Frank,
just back and forth.
Frank, what are you doing?
Like something's gonna change in like the second that you were on Instagram.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's literally like, is it Pavlov's dog experiment? Wasn't that what it was with the treat and the bell or something like that? Yeah, that's all it is.
Yep, that's exactly what it is.
We're dumb.
Looking for instant gratification.
Yeah, that's it. But I'm glad it's only 6 hours. I think.
I'm glad it's only 6 hours. Listen,
from like
man.
8 hours, I think.
Yeah, but listen, dude. Here, you sleep for 9 hours, right?
You don't have to keep going. It's all good. It's good. It's good.
You sleep. So between sleep and your social media, you're at 15 hours out of 24.
Yeah, I'm not doing well right now. I'll tell you what I do though is like I listen to Spotify a lot.
Yeah.
Are you on Spotify?
Yeah.
You're on Spotify too.
Yeah, I'm on Apple. I'm on Spotify. I'm on all the major formats.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of music.
Yeah,
a lot.
But you can't really count that because your screen isn't on while you're listening to music.
Really?
It's screen time. Yeah, like you'll have
it's
Spotify
only on,
playing.
Dude, so I'm probably on it for
it's
interacting with my phone. So like.
Yeah, it's actually that. It's actual screen time where your screen is on.
Yeah. Okay, that's even more terrifying, honestly, because I'm definitely on it way longer than 6 hours and 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's crazy, right?
Yeah, that's not. I don't feel good about that.
Yeah,
I could probably be doing some productive stuff.
What's terrible is when I first heard about it and I looked up mine, it was at like 6 or 7 hours, and I was like, man, you can go on there and set limits for different apps and stuff. So I went in there and set limits, and the limit would pop up, but you can bypass it.
I do it. I'm like 15 more minutes. Boom. Yeah. It's like terrible.
Like an addict.
Yeah, it is. Dude. It is. It's its own form of addiction.
Oh, it's so crazy.
But again, like, I mean, it's just like a supercomputer in your pocket.
Yeah, it's hard not to just use all the time.
Ron, you had him on your podcast recently.
Yeah.
He went to, I think it was Minnesota or Montana.
Okay.
No phone for like 8 days.
I bet you that was
He
so
said
relieving.
it was unreal.
Yeah. That's so one of the reasons for me getting out of management too was my phone constantly went off, so I was never really off of work, right? Like I'd be home and I'd get constant calls from whatever restaurant I was working at, And I got in the habit of making sure I always had a charger with me everywhere I went, because if my phone was dying, I'm freaking out. Like the shop's going to call. I'm not going to be able to answer it. There's something's going to go wrong. And so after the first week that I was done managing, and I was just bartending, my phone was getting ready to die, and I'd left my phone charger at one of the bars that I bartend at. And I was like, oh my God, my phone's going to die. Like, what am I doing? I'm going to have to go buy it. Actually,
I'll be fine.
My phone can die. It'll be fine.
So good.
So I let it die for 5 hours.
Yeah.
And it was the most relieving thing. It felt like a vacation.
Yeah.
It really
like right
did.
now my phone's on airplane mode, so I'm not getting anything.
Right.
And I'm like, it feels good.
Yeah.
It feels good. I don't even know how long we've been talking, but it feels good.
Right.
Like,
It's nice and relaxing.
Nothing. Like people could be trying to reach me right now.
Yeah.
It's like I'm in this little time chamber of just
Right.
not worrying about a thing.
That's a good thing about the studio.
It is, dude. It is.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Until a sheriff knocks on your door.
And then you get served a subpoena to go to court. Yeah.
I actually, I do got to wrap this up because I also found out I have to work.
That's fine.
But I do want to ask you: have you ever used any of Onnit's workout equipment, like the clubs or the maces?
No, my friend Aaron in Columbus owns a gym. He does mace workshops. He does club workshops.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I've never been exposed to them, but they look really functional and interesting to use.
Very functional, and just every workout you do with them works your core.
Yeah.
Like, I love it. I had a buddy who was working out all the time, and like my clubs are only 10-pound clubs. Yeah. And then I think my mace is only 15 pounds. And so it seems like it should be nothing, but the way the weight is distributed, it just works all your core and everything. So my buddy was working all the time, massive arms, everything. He was struggling to do some of the workouts just because of that functionality of them and where the weight is distributed and the way it was working his core. Yeah. I'm a big proponent of them. Even when I'm not working out consistently, I'm doing a couple times a week.
Just touching them.
Just picking up the
touches.
clubs and going at it, picking up the mace and going at it. I was interested to see what you thought about it. I'd recommend trying them.
Yeah,
I would.
I'm down. See, for me, like I try to keep an open mind with all sorts of training. I don't like to think I don't want to box myself into anything.
Right.
And that's something that I always try to do. I have people that I trust that I always like. If I have an idea, I run it by them because they'll tell me if they think it's crappy.
Right.
And I trust that. Like my dad's one of them too. I'm like, hey, like I have this idea. What do you think of it? He'll be like, nah, I need some work before you launch something like that. You know, like here's some recommendations. So even with training or nutrition, like I don't want to box myself in.
Right.
Like for a while, like a big mistake that I made was only giving people macros.
Yeah.
Protein, carb, fat goals. And then I was like, I can't do that. Like I have to diversify the way that I operate. And so with training, everything, like I feel like with training, with anything, if you apply yourself, you'll get the results that you want.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah. It's all about applying yourself and being disciplined and pushing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my philosophy with it. So.
Yeah. Well, Frankie, honestly, I'm sad that I now have to go to work because I feel like me and you could have talked for 3 or 4 hours.
Yes. Yeah, dude. This is so fun.
Yeah. I definitely would love. Definitely glad you came. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I would love to have you back. So
yeah, let's do it.
Expect that phone call
for sure.
But I appreciate you coming on. And this is the Gathering of Fools. We're out.
I'm a fool.